Alrighty, good morning everybody, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the fucking time I put this on, or day, or whatever. How is it going? This is Corey LeBlanc, aka the Ceremonial Witch, and I'm here back with another episode. So there's a few things I want to talk about, as always, and then from there, it'll just probably get crazier and crazier and crazier, and off topic, and I'll forget things, but that's how it basically goes for me. So, I put a YouTube video recently just explaining why the last video I put out, which was about the Sefer Yetzirah, why I put that on there basically, and the main reason was just to tell everybody that I put the astrology books on. Not the last episode, not the one I'm talking about, not the one with the Yetzer Sephira, or the Sefer Yetzirah on there. However, I did put the PDF for that book. I'm not going to have somebody talk about the book and then not put the PDF on there anymore. Now, I did do that in the past. However, I would actually upload clips, pieces of the PDF right on the episode, and I don't want to do that anymore, so I'd rather just put the link for you guys to have a library of PDFs that you can read anytime if you don't want to read, that's fine, but this way, if you have your phone or whatever device you put the shit on, excuse me, it's like almost 7:55 right now in the morning, so sorry about the yawn. I haven't even had coffee yet. But anyways, this way, if you're at the doctor's office, or, with your kids somewhere, playground, whatever the case is, you're doing something and you don't know what to do, you don't have Wi-Fi or whatever, well, you don't need Wi-Fi once you have the PDF on your phone, you know what I mean? Now, that link I gave you, if you just keep that link, and you have to go in the episode every time and watch it via the internet, then yeah, you're going to use data. But at least once it downloads completely off that site, you're no longer using data. It's not like a video from YouTube where you're continuously streaming, or even an audio book from specific apps sometimes stream, not always, or they have ads, not always, once again, and or like listening to audiobooks on something like YouTube or whatever, or it could be any one of those sites, which are awesome that we have that, because when you're in a place when you have Wi-Fi, then it's great to have something read to you, or have books available to you only online. When you're in your Wi-Fi, then that's when you would use those options. It's all about time management, right? There's certain books you can't listen to, and you're not a big fan of reading, or have a hard time comprehending when you do read, whatever the case may be. Well, then that's the time you should use. And I can't remember the fucking. I think it's something archive.com, maybe pdfarchive.com, book archive. Anyways, there's a site that the free avatar, new avatar power is on there. I've got many copies of that book, and I cannot get it to read. There's one copy on my phone that I can get to read, which is huge. And I'm not against reading with my eyes or anything like that. I just really believe in putting something on when you go to sleep, a book that you kind of know what the contents are by going through the index and all that, because they're like YouTube videos and songs and all that you listen to while you sleep. Even regular TV, you don't really know what's on there. There's no index telling you what the show is about. That would kind of get rid of some of the suspense. And unless it's previews or episodes of something you already watched, you're putting on, Friends or something. But there's going to be some subliminal misconceptions and shit in there that aren't going to be good for you. But anyways, point is, I like putting a book on to go to sleep. At least you know what's in that book. And, later on, whether it's a month or 2 months or like a week, you're going to have these insights come to you. And, it could be debated if that's channeling or not. And, I'm not even going to really touch that, because I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's things around you, or things you pick up information from that other people have left energy imprints on, and so many variables when it comes to like channeling and getting different thought forms and ideas and things that come into your head so randomly that I can't say it's just like I read this book a month ago and that's where this information is coming from, because it's been about 3 weeks since I picked up a book and I still have information coming to me now. Maybe I'm not past that hump yet where, maybe it's like a 4-week thing, basically everything up till 4 weeks ago is still coming through to me that I've listened to or read or whatever. I don't think so, but anyway, so the point of that was just, use the books that you can only listen to online. So like the new Avatar Power, the only place I can listen to it successfully without through the words in it spelling stuff, because if she can't pronounce the word or can't see it, then she's going to pronounce it sometimes in a different language, sometimes in a different tone, and it gets all weird. But anyway, so that's how you divide up your time. But anyway, so I put that book, The Sefer Yetzirah, on my newest episode now. 3 episodes prior to that, okay? There's 3 episodes prior to that have, I think, Jordan Peterson in them, or astrologers such as KRS Astrology and Alyssa. I don't even know what last name she's going by, but I keep forgetting. I know it's either Tran or Sharp. But anyways, and then what used to be Black and Indigo, and now she changed her name to Tiara, and I almost feel like maybe I have something to do with that, but maybe I don't. Maybe it's completely unrelated. But anyways, so she's going by Tiara, which is a nice name actually. That's cool, and it's spelled with a Y, so I like that. But anyways, the 3 last episodes that are about astrology, and not the last episode. So like the 4 last episodes minus the last episode. Each one of those has 2 PDF books on there of astrology. And I can't remember them all, but I'll try to run them off to you. There's Astrology 101. There's Interpretive Astrology. There's The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need. There is Carl Jung's Astrology, based on his Liber Novus. I can't remember the rest of them now. Something astrology workbook, but it's longer name than that. And there's one more, because I think I only hit 5, but there's 6 in total. But anyway, so, and that's on there. So that was the main focus of the YouTube video, was to put that out there, because the YouTube video was to also tell people to, go check. You don't have to go listen to the episodes. All you have to do is go on there and, get the downloads, get the PDFs, start learning astrology. And I'm not saying to learn astrology because you want to be an astrologer. However, Frederick Xavier says in his videos, astrology, doing charts, is one of the highest paid professions. I mean, I'm sure he's not taking it like, obviously, your doctors, your lawyers, and all that. But something like $200 an hour. Now, you don't work 8 hours a day, but depending on how many charts you can bang out, I mean, you can bang out a lot of money if you're getting $200 for every fucking chart you do. So that's some pretty good inspiration to get into it. But basically, the only reason you should do it is because to understand your own birth chart. And you don't even need to do this. Like I said, all you have to do is really go on YouTube and put in your placements. I mean, you can use anything. It doesn't have to be YouTube. Maybe even fucking Facebook, but anywhere that there's enough people that know about astrology that, good reviews about it. And this is not going to be completely accurate, but you're going to get, instead of one person's interpretation, which should be like one person plus, whoever they channel, wherever their intuition comes from and all that. But you get multiple people's multiple people's intuition and opinion and interpretation, all at the same time. And you're going to see some commonalities. Some of the people are going to be saying very similar things every time, and there's going to be some differences in some of them. And definitely go with the commonalities. Definitely write down the differences as well, or the things that, one person said and one person said. And if you write this all down and you add it together, this means this, this means this, this means this. You can look at your life that you already had. You can look at your physical body. You can look at your mentality. You can look at your health issues. You can look at, your life. Basically, from, different things like, your 4th house. 4th house, I think, being, Cancer, being the water house, family, associated a lot to your parents, mainly your mom, I want to say, whereas the top one, adjacent from that, would be your father. But anyways, and then you can see stuff, like I said, my mom is a Cancer, and I have 3rd and 4th houses, both in the sign of Cancer. Sorry, both in the sign of Cancer. And, that's exactly where my IC line is. Bam, I'm right in Cancer. So whenever they say that has to do with, it has something to do with your mother, well, it's bang on, right? My mom is a Cancer. So I have 2 houses in there, and so yeah, anyways. Because even my 4th house, which is ruled by Cancer, is also in Cancer, and that's where my chart actually evens out. I'm like a zodiac sign behind from like the norm, and what I mean by norm is just like Aries is normally the beginning, right? Aries would be the beginning of your year, and March would be the end of the year technically. Well, March and April is where Aries is, so Pisces would be the end of the year is what I meant to say. February and March would be at the end of the year. So Aries being your head and Pisces being your feet. And, you can look at the calendar to kind of know that, right? December, DEC, decameter, 10 en français, all starts with D, DEC. That's December, that's 10. That means 10. 9, November, 9, 9. But it's December's 12, and November is 11 when it should be 10. Or sorry, when in November should be 9. And October, we all know what an octagon or an octopus. You know what I mean? October, come on, that's 8, right? September, I already went over this with some September 11 shit. That's 7. So anyways, that's a way to look at it as well. It's kind of tricky because, I've looked I try to look this up, and I know there's been some changes in our calendar. I know the Mesopotamian calendar is different and stuff like that. So it's not something I'm ready to get into, but when I have some really good information from people I can trust, and that kind of like, not something I resonate with, but something that makes actual possible sense, or, I get some kind of flash of intuition telling me this is right, then I'll go more in depth, because right now all I really have is basic ideas of why. But really, this is just, the zodiac that's the way the zodiac works. So you can say, well, the calendar's wrong and all that, but it really doesn't matter where you start and where you finish. That's going by spring starts the year, which, was truthful. So when 2020 happens, people are waiting for bad things to happen. I would say wait till February, March before you think something bad is going to happen, and you're going to see the ramp up and all that. That might be why Christmas is where it is, because technically it's near the end of the year, and then we have our New Year celebration, and then, look, see, nothing bad happened. But really, the end of the year would be closer to the beginning of Aries, where March is. Now, like I said, I don't have any concrete proof to tell you if that's okay, and I really don't think you should focus on anything bad. And I really don't think too much bad is going to happen. Like I keep saying, I have these feelings that something is in the air, but it doesn't necessarily mean that something catastrophic or like a huge. It could be something good, and my radar, so to speak, that tells me something big's happening is just going off, and I'm just assuming it's of a negative or a low vibration. Of negativity, I guess. But anyways, so first thing I wanted to talk about was that's what the last episode of Speaker was about, was just to put some information about the creation story on there, because I've been playing a lot of Jordan Peterson, which he goes into the Bible a lot, and he talks about the Bible being completely symbolic. But then you have guys like this who is he used to be a very devout Christian who was going through an awakening, and he's got a lot of good videos on there, a lot of good information that he's researched and all that. But he's coming from the premise of the Bible used to be real in his eyes. He was taught the Bible was real, and it didn't make sense to him. So he dropped that, and now he's, branching to his other beliefs. And I don't know. I don't watch all his episodes all the time, and I don't think he's taking everything literal. But and the videos I put on, or the audio I put on in my last episodes, the way he talks is as if he thinks these books are of the same nature. Real and not symbolic. But if the Bible is fake or symbolic, I think he's coming from the framework or the background that the Bible is not a book to be used or not a symbol. It's a fake book that was just there to, dogmatically control us, basically, or follow this dogma. Where That's true. They are doing that, but I believe maybe the initial intention of that book, those books in that book, were to help us either evolve or learn, whatever the case is. And if it was to help us remember who we are and what we are, I don't really know. But I know it's not just something there to fucking hold us down and beat us over the head and shit like that. So anyways, but he's got a lot of good information and all that, and this process happens slowly or fast depending on who you are and what you watch and how willing you are to let go of what you think is true and willing to accept new information. This whole impeachment with Trump thing happening is pretty cool, and it could be not the event I was talking about, but something bad that's coming. I can't help. The first thought that came to my head was that, well, if you're Trump and you think you're not going to get reelected, what would you want to do? Well, you'd want to go out with a fucking bang. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be impeached, and I'm not saying this is fake or anything like that. But I'm just saying, if him as presidency is a theater for the masses and a way to divide the United States into more polarity than it's ever been, then it would make sense that by impeaching him, and if he wouldn't be reelected, or you need to put a new person in there, so you don't want the option of him being reelected, then it would make sense that he gets impeached and he makes this big grandiose thing, and this way, he's still popular, he still goes down as a president that whatever, and I'm not saying that's true, I'm not saying that's false, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to get impeached, because depending on where you look, the information is staggering against him. You got people saying all the good things he's doing, you got people saying all the bad things he's doing, and if these sources are coming from people that actually, if you can actually see the effects of Trump's actions versus just data collected by someone or something, or by fucking the news, or by the media saying, and the FBI saying, and this and that, there's no way to know if any of that shit is real in my eyes. And to me, the whole thing is just fucking fake. And I know it's not right to say, but bad things happen everywhere, and it is a fucking, if something bad's happening in the United States, well then yeah, it's going to trickle down everywhere. Birch talked about that in his video. He talked about how, the Great Depression in the States and all this caused World War I and World War II, and that's true for the United States, but Germany after World War I had a worse Great Depression than we did, and had a worse stock markets. I don't even think their market ever came back, but because after World War I, Austria, Hungary, they initially declared war first against whoever they declared war against in World War I, and Germany was one of their allies, and they were the second one to enter the war. Now Austria got defeated way before Germany. Germany was the last country standing basically in World War I, but when the World War ended, the United States, I think their independence was already established by then, or this helped them to become their own colony, saying, see, we can stand up and fight, we did it in our own country, we did it here again, whatever, how the final steps of separating from, whatever monarch was controlling them, I believe was England once again. They were already established, but still, whatever. And that could be inaccurate, but what I know about Germany and the other countries where they had Great Depressions and all that, especially World War I time, maybe not World War II, because World War II, the market in the States was starting to branch out, and other countries were having resources in the States and letting that take care of, and whatever. But at the same sense, like I also know Germany, well, after World War I, before World War II, Germany had a worse crash than ever, which is why when Hitler came to, start speaking to people and telling people, what he wanted to tell people, creating the Nazi Party after he got out of jail. I read his book, so I know a lot about this, but once again, that's just from Hitler's point of view, and is that the point of view you're going to take? Probably not. He's basically a psychopath and a narcissist, and, what's that other word for people that don't feel emotions? It's not psychopath, but psychopath doesn't feel emotions because they're this word. But anyways, I can't think of it. It'll come to me later. Anyway, so that was one of the reasons it made it easier for him. This is what I learned also in school. So once again, if the school system's wrong and the fake news is wrong and the history is wrong, then technically I'd be wrong. But if those things do hold weight and are accurate, well, then this would be accurate. So that's kind of the scale we got to go by these days, and we don't really know what to believe, because if our children, let's say 50 years from now, are using Fox News and different things like this to tell them how history is, well, then I hope my kid's going to be making a podcast like me saying, well, Fox News is right, which we know they're probably not right. Then my information is wrong. And, it could be said the same about what I'm talking about right now. Because right now, with the information I'm spewing here about between World War I and World War II, well, there was no internet. And if there was, we didn't know about it. But there was no internet back then. And we were given, but my parents and their parents were given the information that whoever dishes out the information for the masses is what they wanted to know. This is why witchcraft and ceremonial magic and things like this, when people start going into it, it becomes really easy, and it influences them, and it overpowers them, and you're almost in this like hypnotic trance because you're so overwhelmed by all this information that you were never told and all that, and it's so different from the crap you've been fed, and after a certain amount of time, the shit you've been fed just doesn't even make sense anymore. So when you get stuff like this almost makes more sense about demons, about spirits, about fairies, about elementals, about gods and goddesses and deities, and reincarnation, and all these topics and ideas, and how your subconscious mind actually creates reality and all that. It almost makes more sense. But if you go by what they taught us, it would make absolutely no sense. I mean, I believe it wholeheartedly, but is that just because I've been polarized to the point where my truth, my history, my reality has been so dumbed down and, trying to hurt or attack human beings or whatever. I don't necessarily believe that, but I do believe there is like an amount of putting out things that are harmful to human beings, such as food, such as the Wi-Fi radiation, such as stuff in your water and all that. There's a lot of harmful things for us to consume, and unless you know about it, you're going to keep consuming it over and over and over again. And so once you get into this, it's very hard to look away, and and once you believe in magic and witchcraft, well, then who's to say you're not going to believe in almost anything and everything? It can almost be made gullible. But once you start doing the research and seeing the subconscious mind and seeing the experiments that other researchers did, and how they were suppressed and how people were stopped and how books were banned from countries and all this, then you start to realize that okay, there is some truth to this, but to not believe everything wholeheartedly. But anyways, back to what I was saying about Germany. Between World War I and World War II, the United States depression wasn't what collapsed every world economy, and and I'm not trying to disrespect Birch or anything like that, because God knows that. And I mean, you can't blame anybody for something, because I might be saying that, saying that Birch is wrong, and the fact that he thought the United States Great Depression is what made World War II happen. But like I said, Germany had twice as worse of a Great Depression than the United States and anywhere else. Because Canada, we had one, but ours wasn't as bad as the States, by any means. Whereas Germany, and you say the same thing about the United States and Germany. The United States had depression, but it was nowhere near the depression that Germany had. And the reason for it was because they got blamed for World War I. When the rules of war says the first country basically was, this is like once again what I learned in school, but the first country that declares war is the one that has to pay for all the war restorations. Now, they were an ally. They joined the war just to help Austria. And Austria-Hungary is what I want to say is the name of the country. It's Austria/Hungary. But anyways, they were the ones that declared war, and Germany went to protect them because, as everybody knows, they are connected. Now, Austria was one of the first countries that Hitler invaded during World War II. Well, why do you think that is? Because he was fucking mad at them, because they got blamed for World War I when they were the ones that started it. And they had to pay for all the damage that, the U.S. and England, and, well, not Canada, because we were still under England during World War One. Now that story for us is true. After World War One, we said, see, we can hold our own because we went in there, we helped you out, because we had some independence at that time. As of 1867, we had some independence. We had our fathers of whatever you want to call it. We were able to write maybe our own bills or something in 1867, where we developed our Canadian Constitution, or I wrote my struggle, Mein Kampf book and all that. And it details a lot of different things in there, and I'm not going to give you any spoilers or anything like that. But point is, yeah, he's a charismatic guy, he was pretty, and, think about a country going through the worst economic time. If in the U.S., the Great Depression, the things people did for money, and how they had to survive, and the men on the corner every day waiting for jobs, and I only need 10 guys, and they're fighting over the jobs, and, that amount of shit we know that happened in the U.S., and what I know happened in Canada. Imagine that to a country that has the little bit of money they have to give overseas for a war they didn't start. So the people right next to them, the ones that started the war, didn't have to do that. They got whatever taken out of the war. They retreated and they just stayed in their own country like, fuck, this sucks. But they didn't have to pay anything. And Germany had to pay it, so they were pissed at them. So Hitler, people say, well, Hitler blamed all the Jews for all the bad shit going on in their country, and he did, according to what I learned as well. But that was the first place he went and started rounding up the Jews, was in Austria-Hungary. And part of the reason is because, like a lot of people today think that the Jewish people have most of the money in the world and run the world and this and that, and I'm not even going to touch that with a 2-foot pole or a 10-foot pole or a 40-foot pole. But he invaded there and started rounding them up. That was the first place he went. And you can say, well, what was right next to him? It makes sense. Well, no. If they were his allies in the First World War, why didn't he make them allies? Instead of forcing them to fight for him, why wouldn't he, you know what I mean? Instead of, like, killing and putting in concentration camps, and, obviously people ended up fighting for him that lived there and all that. First place he invaded, was there. But anyways, I'm kind of off topic. But so yeah, the point is, how much can we really know just going by our school and what we learned? Because everything I just said, I could be completely wrong, and Birch could be completely right, that it was just the United States Depression that collapsed all the worlds into the World War II thing happening. I don't believe that. But that's because I have this childhood programming telling me that this is real because this was put in your head. And I remembered it because I've always been fascinated about history. And, as much as I didn't like Hitler and all that, I couldn't help but realize that he was in such a bad and devious, evil way. He was a genius, and I'm not saying that because I'm a fucking neo-Nazi or anything like that, because no, I don't want anybody to fucking die. I don't believe in any of that. I use Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, and stuff like that every day. So I don't hate the Jews if they're help preserved, especially the fucking magician and the magics that I'm doing now. If they help preserve that, then I owe a great debt to the Jewish people. So when it comes to Israel and, Trump and all that crap, well, if Israel is calling him the second coming and all that, I would go as far as to say that Israel over there are not actually real Jewish people, and the Jewish people like that are spread out through the world, the ones that are like in, even Hollywood, like Adam Sandler, and the ones in New York, and the ones here in Canada, and all over the world spread out, those would be the Jewish people, that are the real ones. And this would just be a fucking, once again, theater for the masses bullshit, because they're doing some pretty horrific things, to Palestine and stuff like that, and the bombardment, blocking, not letting anything come into the country and all that. And apparently Palestine bombed something of Israel while the U.S. was right on their fucking border, right around their waters, holding them at gunpoint. And somehow they went out there and did something to Israel. That's a fucking another false flag that just recently happened that people aren't taking into account. They're going by the fake news and not necessarily looking at the independent news. And once again, I have suspicions about a lot of independent news being fake as well. There's no one you can really trust, but to trust anything on TV, period, is just, to me, in my opinion, is just something I don't think anybody should do. Now, I understand when you're scared of what's going on in the world, and you're worried for your safety and all that. But if that stops being the case, if you're no longer worried for your safety, well, then you should probably stop watching the fucking TV. Especially if you tell people you should stop watching the TV, and you keep watching the TV, putting on channels that you know are fake. But it is what it is, It's just the life we live in, and the more you focus on something, the more it becomes fucking real. So you're going to keep focusing on the issues, and you're going to keep getting issues, and that's the main thing. I would say if everybody just stopped focusing on the crap of the world, then we'd have no more crap of the world. And not necessarily just not focusing on that, but focusing on what you want to happen. You can't just ignore the problem and always keep thinking about the problem, kind of like on some level.
All right, it's the start of a new year, 2018. I hope and trust that everyone had a safe and happy holiday. Let's get into it. I've been following you since 2013, and I enjoy your content, but lately it seems like every video is an ad. Sure, I guess I could see how you would think that. And the reason for it is everything got backed up and hit all at once at the end of the year. So I got behind earlier in the year when the Protection and Defense program should have been released. But I got double pneumonia, and that alone put me back an entire month. Just from that, not to mention all the other delays that came up. And by the time I started making any real headway, it's October, and the next cycle of the Laws of Magic comes up. And then in November, it was Protection and Defense, and in December, it was the end of the year sale. So 3 months in a row, running concurrent, that's why everything seemed like it was a sales ad, because the only way you're going to find out about it is if I tell you about it. But that's all caught up and over with now, and it's a brand new year, and I have absolutely nothing in the works. So you can rest easy, O sensitive ones. I have nothing to offer thee, although you can always buy a t-shirt if you so desire. Now, I'll still always have my little cards and end screens, as I always do, but it won't be as ad-heavy as it seemed to be. The next sale won't even be until at least next month at the earliest. I do plan on putting out at least 2 programs this year, but since I haven't even started working on them, they won't be for a while. So I hope that clears it up for you. I don't like it that everything ran concurrent as they did either, but just because I get behind on things doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue to achieve my goals for the year. I ended up getting it done, but at the cost of it running back to back to back. And hopefully that will not happen this year, as I do prefer to put a little time in between things. So with that out of the way, last time we had talked about scarcity and how caring too much can actually work against you. But this time we're going to talk about how caring too little can actually be just as undesirable. Remember, everything needs to be kept in balance. Caring too little is the danger of depolarization. For as much as we've talked about depolarization on this channel, we haven't really talked too much about the cons of depolarization. There are pros and cons to everything. I believe that because we have discussed depolarization on this channel so much that people believe that depolarization is a good thing. And it can be. But there are cons to it as well. Thinking that it is good or bad in of itself is polarization. So it's not really that depolarization is good per se, as there are certain benefits to it. Namely, being able to see both sides and perspectives equally, not being manipulated so easily by those in the know, by using polarity for attraction and repulsion, being more centered and grounded. So what are the cons? Well, for starters, you may begin to not care as much. You may understand others more, but they may have a more difficult time understanding you, leading to a sense of being cut off from society. And though you may understand them, you may not relate to them anymore. There is a difference. And these two things, not caring as much and feeling cut off from everybody, can lead to some serious motivation problems. You may find it difficult to get anything done, difficult to get it in gear and get moving. Now, thankfully, no one is 100% depolarized completely. True depolarization is stagnation, which is the state of not flowing or moving, a sort of limbo between the poles, between the pillars. Stagnation leads to death and decay, and therefore it is not desirable. And so we really need to strike a balance. We need to be depolarized just enough so that we can see different perspectives. We can see the other side of things. We can see how it's used in the world and by those in the know, to view it as the powerful force that it is, and to learn how to use polarity to our own advantages. For polarity is the foundation of life, which we know as electromagnetism. And so becoming depolarized can be just as undesirable as being polarized if it leads to becoming apathetic, nihilistic. As you begin to see all the points, you begin wondering, what's the point? And possibly even some depression, which could be the case if you begin to feel cut off from society. And so I wanted to bring these things to light as I'm watching people leave comments acting like depolarization is the end-all be-all, like it's its own movement now or something. It's as an important tool that we use, but it can lead to some balance issues and some problems if you're not careful and aware of them. So my advice, if you're beginning to feel any of these things in your practice, such as apathy, feeling cut off from others, nihilism, lack of motivation, not caring about things at all, is to simply take a break from your magical practice for a while. Stop doing the middle pillar ritual and just really give things a rest for about a month or so, and then see how you feel and come back to it. If you're doing a self-initiation course, such as the one by Liam Thomas Christopher, Kabbalah, Magic, and the Great Work of Self-Transformation, and you begin feeling that way, take a break between the grades. A month off between grades isn't going to kill you so long as you come back to it when you're finished. We strive for balance in all things. So stop being a hermit and get out there once in a while. And even I have to push myself to do that sometimes because, as I said a couple of videos ago, I'm not a big crowd person. So if you begin to feel like you're starting to care less and less and less about things, you need to stop with the depolarization exercises. There's nothing wrong with being polarized. It is the natural way of things. It's just that it has been misused and exploited for so long that we really need to understand how this works. And so I really want people to stop equating depolarization as good and polarization as bad. That is simply not the case. And if you fall into apathy, it could be quite the opposite. So continue your work, but remember to keep a good balance. If you feel yourself sliding into apathy, just make sure you back off for a bit. Also remember that I never claimed that the path of the magician is an easy one. And I think that will about do it for today. I'm going to go hit temple and then take the rest of the evening off. Once again, I hope that everyone had a safe and happy New Year, and I will see you next time. Take care.
Hearts Abishola. All new, Monday at 8:30, 9:30 Mountain.
As if you are driving that. I was a little disappointed when the threats started becoming pretty heavy. It's only recently as if I was having some kind of argument or conversation with this person. No, I haven't even sent them a single message at all. So I have no idea what their problem is, people from harassing me. And as synchronicity would have it, YouTube has now just released their new harassment policy. So I would expect that these people are going away very soon. And I'm not talking about those who are leaving negative comments and disagree with me. I don't care about that, as long as it isn't threatening to me or anyone else. You know, just being a decent person, a fairly simple and reasonable behavior. Otherwise, I will have you taken down and removed in accordance with the new YouTube policy, which has arrived just in time. Imagine that. So for those of you who still have posts up attacking me and messages attacking me, I still haven't got my inbox totally cleaned out, and you know who you are. I'm giving you this opportunity to remove them yourself before they are removed for you. YouTube is far less forgiving than I am, and they may remove you as well. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Dear Freighter, I would just like to share my success story and let you know how big of a difference your work has made for every aspect of my life. I just did 2 days of repeating, I'm so grateful now that I have loads of money coming from multiple sources all the time, non-stop. Then I let it be for a day, and what do you know? I have a job interview in the morning. My grandfather is going to teach me how to make money by doing virtually no effort, by being a consultant in my spare time for Ambit Energy. I was taught just yesterday of the best no-risk long-term investments with moderate income. And just an hour ago, my mom's boyfriend offers me 10% of his profits if I run his blog. I have been practicing magic for 6 months, and all of this new income is without ritual at all. I haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg in comparison to what a fulfilled, happy, ambitious person with such a love for life I have become. I studied non-stop since I began, and now I know my life's purpose, know what I want from life, and I am getting the steps laid out right in front of me. You have my never-ending respect and gratitude. I've come to you with questions before, but this, more than anything, is what I hope you see. Thank you, Freighter, for being the single most influential person in my life so far. P.S. I'm 15 years old. Most everyone I've known has led me on to believe this level of success, both on an internal and external level, is impossible. I've come a long way in 6 months. I remember the first thing I manifested was a cheeseburger while I was in jail and tired of their shitty sandwiches. To be at the level I am today and the level I'll be at in 6 more months is truly the best thing that has ever happened to me. Thank you again, Freighter. I love this kid. Only 6 months and his life is completely turned around. And he's only 15. I wish I had this information when I was 15. I can only imagine how far he's going to go in life, because he took action and he was persistent without even the need for ritual. Although affirmations is a type of ritual, as you're doing it over and over. And I recognize that affirmation. That's a Bob Proctor affirmation. It's the one Bob Proctor uses himself. And it works. The thing about affirmations is that people usually don't have the patience and the persistence to continue doing them until they work. It's got to get into the subconscious, and the only way to do that is to beat it into your head over and over again and make it a habit so that it gets into the subconscious that way, because the conscious mind, if you're thinking about it while you're doing it, it filters it out. But if you do it enough times, you do it without even thinking about it, now it's getting in. It's like memorization. You can do it without even consciously trying to. And he also discovered his life purpose and what he wants from life. And that's paramount. I mean, it's very difficult to manifest what you want if you don't know what you want. You should have a clear, sharp vision of what you want. I love this testimonial. It doesn't get much better than this. And this is what it's all about. How many young people today, that age, in their mid-teens, have a passion and zest for life and know exactly what they want from it? There's not many these days. Not that I'm seeing. There are many hopeless kids out there. And this is somebody like many kids out there today who had their issues and made bad choices. That's usually how you end up in jail, but has since turned everything completely around without even doing the magic. He just changed his mindset, and now he's starting to have success. And the more he embodies that success, the more success he'll have. It's an upward spiral as opposed to a downward spiral. You need not worry or be concerned with the how everything comes about. You just need to know what you want. As he said, everything was laid out before him. It was presented to him. He didn't have to plan out the details of how things would come about. He just needed to know what he wanted. So how do we go about manifesting what we want without the need for magic ritual, without a temple and the tools, without invoking the archangels and vibrating God names? How do we go about changing our mindset? Well, without magic, there are two things that are going to determine the things that you manifest in your life. The first is self-talk, the conversations that are going on in your mind, many times in the background without you even being consciously aware of it. The exercise that I gave out at the beginning of banishing and rejecting and denying your negative thoughts and accepting the positive thoughts as offers that are presented to you will go a long way in your gaining control of your self-talk. Because if you're allowing negative self-talk into your mind, then you are divided against yourself. How can you ever be successful if you're constantly telling yourself that you cannot be successful? How can things work out if your own mind's voice is telling you that things won't work out? You have to gain control of those self-talk thoughts. And the more you reject, deny, and banish those negative thoughts, the less they'll come around. So that is the first thing that's going to determine the things that you manifest into your life. The second thing is going to be self-image. Do you see yourself as the person that you want to be, or do you fall short of that vision? Self-talk and self-image go hand in hand. And if you can get a handle on the self-talk, you can also get a handle on the self-image. When I first started this channel, as you know, it took me 10 months to get 100 subscribers. I was new to doing YouTube and presenting information. As I was not really used to doing this all the time, I did not yet see myself in that role of teacher. But after about 30 to 40 videos and had gained the experience and felt more comfortable, I began to see myself in that role. And that's when the channel really started to snowball and take off. Previous to that, I saw myself having a successful YouTube channel, but it wasn't until I saw myself in that role that things really took off. See yourself not as you are, but as you want to be, as if you already are. Genesis 1:27 says, So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. Now, Neville Goddard, who is like the Bob Proctor of his day back in the 40s and 50s, he calls God the human imagination. And he's not far off the mark if you know that the subconscious is your link to the divine, and that our requests to the divine must come through our imaginative faculties and visualizations. So let me read it again with Neville Goddard's definition of God. So imagination created mankind in his own image. In the image of imagination, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Everything that is created is first imagined. And what you manifest into your reality is going to be a result of your use or misuse of your imagination. Are not self-talk and self-image part of your imagination? And so you have to get a handle on these things if you want lasting success, if you want to be in that upward spiral. Now, I recommend listening to Neville Goddard's lectures on YouTube, but if you want the short version of his method, it's quite simple. Imagination plus emotion plus faith. Imagine yourself or circumstances not as they are, but as you want them to be. Imagine as sharp and vividly as you can until you feel as if it is so. Use all 5 of your senses in your imagination. So perhaps it's a new house that you want. Imagine walking around that house, touching the walls and the furniture, etc. If it's a new car, feel as if you are driving that car, imagining the car as vividly as you can. Turn up the emotion of gratitude while you're doing it, being thankful for what you have. And imagine until you feel that it is done, that it is a fact. And to the degree of which you believe it is real, it will become real. And he advises doing this when you're ready to go to sleep and holding that state of imagination and feeling as if it is real until you fall asleep. And do this each night until it manifests. Put yourself where you want to be in your mind without worrying about how to get there. Leave the details to the divine. That's as simple as it gets. Imagination plus emotion plus faith. The self-talk is the faith component. Negative self-talk is doubt. And there is no room for doubt. You have to know that it is so. Then let it go. Until the next night, then do it again. My first manifestation using this method was when I was in the 3rd grade. There was a national contest for a charity to raise money for research to fight a particular disease. Now, I'm not going to go into details that can compromise my identity, but I ended up winning the grand prize, which was a trip to Disney World. I envisioned myself at Disney World, and I had absolutely no doubt that I would win. And I kept telling my parents, I'm going to win. And they were like, yeah, sure you are, okay. And my father said he would take the entire family if I did win, because the trip was only for 2 people. And there were 4 of us, my parents, my sister, and I. My brother had not yet been born at the time. And, of course, I won. The odds of it never occurred to me. Being that young, I couldn't fathom just how large a national contest was. I just knew that I was good at what the contest entailed, and I had the confidence and the faith that I would prevail. And it was so. Matthew 18:3, and he said, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Children have incredible imaginations and unshakable faith, partly because they don't know any differently. They're not weighing the odds and picking things apart. And then they have that imagination and faith destroyed by lies such as Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and other disappointments. They become skeptical, as it happened with me. I didn't retain the incredible lesson of manifestation that was given to me. I was too young to pick it apart and find out exactly why it worked as it did. We have to become like little children again and encourage imagination and faith in our own children in a system that's designed to destroy it. Every majorly successful person will tell you the same thing. They had a vision of their success. And by vision, they mean exactly that. They mean they saw themselves successful in their own mind as if it was so first. They imagined it. Do not underestimate the mind in Mind and Magic. Many people just want me to simply focus on the magic. They want this spell or that spell, when what they really need is to learn to develop their own imaginations. The imagination is your creative power. If you're able to see it in your mind's eye and feel it as if it is real, it will be so, to the degree of your faith. As I said before, I recommend listening to Neville Goddard's lectures. He has many, many, many success stories simply using this method alone. I remember there was one where a lady's boss was always mean to her and talking down to her and just being a jerk. And when they examined her self-talk, she was always fighting with him in her mind. Once she cleared that up and started imagining him praising her for her work, he did a 180 and everything changed, and he did start praising her for her work. Remember when I said that everyone is doing magic whether they know it or not? This is what I'm talking about. Self-talk and self-image. The use or misuse of your imagination. Learn to take conscious control of your imagination, and you will take control over the creation of your reality. And I'll see you next time. Take care.
Right, so I know that it's a cliche saying, often associated with Spider-Man, something that his uncle told Peter Parker before he died. Nonetheless, it still holds true. Because as a magical practitioner, as a magician, you have more responsibility than the average person, because you have more power than the average person. Now, I'm not talking about it in the sense that you need to be a do-gooder and go around saving people like a superhero, since the saying is associated with the superhero. What I'm really talking about is you have a greater responsibility to guard the gates of your mind, to guard your tongue, and to make sure that things don't magically backlash, go awry, or have any other unintended consequences. Because let me tell you, 95% of the time that things go wrong for me, it's either something slipped past my conscious filter, I either said or thought something that I shouldn't be thinking or saying, or I wasn't clear enough in my intention, which can cause a subconscious sabotage, as we had previously discussed. So let me give you an example of what I mean. Recently here in the Midwest, we have gotten a lot of snow. And one storm we had gotten almost an entire foot of it. There was so much snow that I had jokingly said that I hope I don't break the shovel. Well, I didn't. And I was able to shovel the entire driveway and even part of the street to clear out around the mailbox. However, the next day, when I cleared off all the snow off of my truck and then cleared that off of the driveway, which was a far less amount than clearing the entire driveway before, the shovel then broke after I had forgotten about it. And this was a sturdy shovel. This has lasted over a decade without any problem. Yet the moment after I say something, it then breaks. And you can say, well, that's just coincidence, but you're going to find that after you've been practicing magic for so long, that you may develop the uncanny ability to speak things into existence, for better or for worse, which is why you also need to develop the ability to hold your tongue. And I cover a lot of this in the Words of Power program when I go over the self-imposed jinx. This kind of thing happens more commonly than you may think, at least it does to me. I have to very much watch what I say, but occasionally the tongue still slips, and then this is the kind of thing that happens. Even my girlfriend, who's not a magical practitioner and has no interest in it, she may not know a whole lot, but she knows this. It's happened enough times over the years that if she hears me speaking negatively, she's telling me to shut the hell up before I do any real damage. With great power comes great responsibility. The same goes for guarding the gates of your mind. You really have to watch what you're putting into it and strive to be more consciously aware. Even so, things from time to time will slip by. Now, I post on social media. I even follow some people on social media. But very seldom am I just scrolling through feeds looking for whatever, as I know that many people are prone to do. Because when you're scrolling through feeds like that, all the things that uninitiated people who don't know anything about the subconscious mind or this stuff, which is mostly garbage, everything that they post that you scroll past goes straight into your subconscious mind. The subconscious sees it all. You may not consciously see what you're scrolling past, but the subconscious does, and there's no telling what that's going to manifest. Probably something that you don't want. So one of the big ways that you can guard the gates of your mind in this day and age is stop scrolling through the general feed. Follow a select number of people who you trust are not going to bombard you with a bunch of negative garbage. You know, TV works the same way. It's how commercials actually really work. You may see a food commercial which consciously watching it makes you really hungry. It can work that way. But they really get you when you leave the TV on in the background and you're not paying attention to it. And it all goes into your subconscious. Again, with great power comes great responsibility, but much of that responsibility is just personal responsibility. As magicians and magical practitioners, we have the ability to make sweeping changes in our reality, many times effortlessly, so we have the responsibility to make sure that those changes are something that we actually intended. As I've said from the beginning, everyone's doing magic whether they know it or not. The fact that you are one of the few who do know it means that you have far more personal responsibility than someone who doesn't. Even so, you're not always going to be batting 1,000. The tongue is going to slip, things are going to slip past your conscious filter, and stuff is going to happen. But when it does, do your best to learn from it. Recognize those patterns and coincidences and make changes accordingly. Learning this now is extremely important, because if you don't, the more adept you become at magic, the more likely your own worst enemy will be yourself. I'm Frederick Xavier, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like or share it if you did so that someone else may benefit from it. Follow me over at Twitter, at Frederick Xavier, and consider joining us over at Patreon or Subscribestar, where we've started a whole brand new series. And I hope to see you there. Take care.
Alright, here we are on the 3rd anniversary of this channel, and it got me thinking about not only how far we've come, but why this channel was started to begin with. And I'm feeling a bit ranty today, so it should be a good time for all. But before we get into all that, a couple updates on what's been going on. I did go have my appointment with the ENT, and tonsillitis is confirmed. The good news is that he said he didn't see anything that he would even consider doing a biopsy on, and so in that respect, all is well. But my tonsils are inflamed on the left side, and it's not the normal tonsils that people usually get out. He was telling me that there's actually 3 different sets of tonsils, and the one that I'm having issue with is my tongue tonsil. It's basically where the tongue actually connects to the back of the throat. So we learn something every day. Another positive aspect is I now have a reason to have ice cream. Even though it's freezing out, I get to sit on the couch under a blanket and eating some Ben & Jerry's. It's a small consolation for the pain and swelling. The temple is pretty much dried out now. It was actually worse than I had originally said. It ended up not being half the carpet, but the entire carpet that was soaked. And I had to get down there with a wet vac, and fans and a dehumidifier have been running ever since. But I think the carpet is going to have to be replaced regardless. And I'm not going to bother with that at this time. I'm just going to wait in the next couple weeks, take care of that. And that's what's going on right now. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, I had someone send me a message just a little while ago asking if I had gotten their message from earlier. And yes, I have, along with about 300 others. Y'all want to message me while I have tonsillitis, for crying out loud. You may want to give me more than just a single day of being on a new antibiotic that's supposed to target it better instead of the generic antibiotic that I was on previously. I keep saying that I'm going to take some time for myself, and now I actually really need to take some time for myself. So just exercise a little patience while I am on the mend. So if you have a question that you've been wanting to ask, that's not imperative. Just hold off for a bit. Hold off for a week or so. Someone else had asked, and I can't seem to find the message offhand, as it's now buried in my inbox. But they wanted to know why I give out this knowledge freely when other magicians don't do that, and frown upon anyone just divulging the mysteries. And the short answer to that is I was led to, and I kept resisting it. You asked if I didn't want to do the videos, then why did I do them? 3 years ago to this day. And it's only because I was led to. I was actually being nagged by that internal voice over and over again. But I still won't talk about it in real life to just anyone. YouTube is my outlet for the things that I cannot talk about to those I know in real life. It doesn't work. I've tried. You may recall my one friend who, is always negative and negative things happen to him that I've talked about on a couple of occasions. You have no idea how many times I've tried to help this individual and talk to him and just give him simple things that he can do and to try to help his thought process be more positive, etc. It doesn't work. And you can say, well, he's a fool for not listening to me, but I would actually be the bigger fool if I tried to continue to help this person. They just look at you as if you're crazy. And it doesn't matter if they see the results that you're getting. They still won't believe it. When people see the results that you're getting, they always ask, what are you doing? What is it that you do? And this is a common question, whether or not people know you to begin with. When you meet somebody, one of the first questions is, well, what do you do? And it's really hard to talk about what I do. Not just because I don't want to divulge, I'm doing magic. And get that look that they give you as if you're insane. But it's just difficult to actually put everything together. Well, what do you do? Well, I make video and audio. Well, what do you do? Well, I'm in online sales. Well, what do you do? Well, I teach. What do you do? I help people solve their problems. Well, what do you do? I talk to people. On and on and on and on. I have 100 different answers for what do you do? Whatever needs to be done. Because I just don't want to get into it. Because they're not going to understand. Not thinking correctly. And they wouldn't be able to understand if they're not thinking correctly. Because it's not I do as how I think. You know, the Napoleon Hill book is called Think and Grow Rich. It's not do and grow rich. It's not work and grow rich. It's think and grow rich. You have to have a certain thought process. And not just for financials, but in all areas of life. And so when I go to visit my family for Christmas, and I get the, what do you do? I just don't get into it with them. Because I know they're not thinking correctly, and therefore they won't understand it. For them to ask, what do you do, is evidence of thinking incorrectly. Well, what is the correct way of thinking in a dualistic world? A world of opposite polarities. To simplify it, we look at the glass half full or we look at it as half empty. Both are correct, but only one of those is going to serve you. Only one of those perspectives is going to be beneficial to you. And people don't understand that it's not so much what you do, it's how you think about things. Because thought precedes all action. And if you think differently, you are going to act differently. Therefore, you are going to do things differently. And so when I tell people it's not what I do, it's how I think, and show them the Napoleon Hill book, Think and Grow Rich, you know, they'll just roll their eyes and they want something specific. They think that I'm just simply avoiding the question, to which some degree I am, because I'm not. If they can't understand that, they're definitely not going to understand the magic aspect of it, of which it certainly plays a part. But I'm not sitting around casting spells all the time. People think that, you know, because I do magic, I must be slinging money spells all over the place. And that's not it at all. I mean, my daily practice is working upon myself, to balance myself, to gain more wisdom, knowledge, clarity. All the other stuff is spread out, you know. But they want to know what it is that I do, and then a big part of it is what I don't do anymore. It's not just how I think, it's how I don't think anymore. It's not so much that I'm doing more magic to further my goals and aims, as I'm not doing the magic that is working against me subconsciously. You cut out all of that stuff. So when I say it's how you think and looking at the glass half full or half empty, it all goes back to that very first lesson and exercise that I gave on this channel about accepting or rejecting your thoughts, because that is going to teach you the correct way to think. And so I'm not running around talking about it to everybody. It does no good. If you remember that one mailbag a while back where the guy was saying, you're teaching the goyim, and why are you teaching these people? They don't understand. And aside from the racist aspect that he put on top of it, that would be correct if I was running around trying to tell everybody and fix everybody's problems that I come across. I do not, because in that regard, I would have to agree with the guy somewhat, that it's a waste of time and energy. I mean, even if I try to tell somebody, you know, the magical checkbook out of the Secrets of Wealth program, this is something that you can do that's not even going to take any more time or effort than usual, and people still won't do it. They won't do it. Even if I told them about the results I was getting, they still would not do it. And so I don't waste my time on those people. I don't try to convert people. I don't have a need for people to be like me. I understand that not everyone is meant to walk this path and have this knowledge. But for those who are actively seeking it out, to those, then I will give freely. And that's why I do this through YouTube. And that's why I started this channel. Because the people listening to me on YouTube want to listen. You are sitting here voluntarily instead of, you know, having a conversation with somebody who doesn't want to hear about it. You know, I'm not pushing anything on anyone. You know, I don't have to advertise like I have the way or anything. Because a lot of my work is geared towards those who are meant to have it will find it. And a lot of you have found it. And in that, it will help make the world a better place. Just because I'm not trying to make it a better place around me doesn't mean that I'm not helping make it a better place, halfway across the world somewhere for someone. And that's good enough for me because that's more than I ever thought I would be able to do. Everything from here on out is just gravy to me. It's the icing on the cake. So I know how frustrating it can be for a lot of you people who want to go out and tell everybody when you start getting the results of the lessons and exercises that I'm putting forth. And they just look at you as if you're insane. I get that. I understand that. What's even more frustrating is just being around people who don't think correctly. And I don't mean correctly as in wrong or right, and I mean correctly as in it's not beneficial to them. They think in a way that's actually holding them back. They look at things at a perspective that's not going to do them any good whatsoever. The victim mindset. Spending more time and energy bitching and complaining than solving their issue. Just, that kind of stuff is very annoying. And it's very difficult to be around that because I'm so far removed from thinking the way most, quote, normal people would think these days. Everybody wants to be normal, but understand that normal these days is mediocre, and I'd rather not be mediocre. And then there gets to be a point where your successes, you can't even share those as examples, because then you're just going to invoke the evil eye, jealousy, bitterness, hatred. Again, the incorrect way of thinking, because that mindset is habitual. That's just the route it's going to take. When you see somebody that's having more success than you, doing better than you, it's your choice. You can either be jealous, bitter, and angry about it, hating on them, or you can be inspired. And if you're inspired, you actually want to listen to what the person is saying to see how they're getting the success that you aren't. And that's the type of people that I attract on this channel. That's what this channel is for. The masses of people that are in everyday life, friends, family, they're still thinking incorrectly, and you're just going to invoke a lot of hatred for you by sharing your knowledge and successes. And when you get really successful, a lot of those people will do everything they can to hold you back, to keep you down. Bob Proctor talks about that quite a bit. It's not that rich, successful people don't hang out with poor people because of the money. The money is just physical evidence of the issue. The reason they don't hang out with them is because of the mindset. Wealth and poverty are both mindsets. So yeah, that was my little rant for today. It's something that I was thinking about anyway because of the 3rd anniversary of this channel, and also because of my recent, Christmas visit with family. And, again, it's not their fault. They know not what they do. They do not know any better. As to why other magicians aren't talking about it and aren't so open about it, one aspect is knowledge is power, and they don't want other people who have power. Many of these practitioners haven't gotten out of scarcity yet. They don't want any competition. Another reason is they are probably under oath not to divulge mysteries. And I've gone over all that in previous installments. But really, I can't speak for them. I can only speak for myself. And speaking for myself, I think I'm going to go ahead and give my tonsils a bit of a rest. Just a quick final notice that all of my programs are currently on sale right now, but that sale will end after today. So if you want to get those at the discount, use code YEAREND when checking out. Link in the video and in the description. I want to wish everyone a safe and blessed New Year, and I will see you in 2016. Take care.
The Masked Singer, all new.
Two commercials in every fucking video. Come on, YouTube. Killing me, bud.
So how would I go about helping people to see straight in a backwards society? I'm just asking. Because we were all brought up that way, it's nobody's fault. But once you're able to see straight, it can be quite maddening. You know, I'm trying to teach the importance of being centered and grounded, yet as a child, being grounded was considered a bad thing. It was punishment. And unless you became an electrician, your subconscious probably never replaced that negative definition with a positive one. It's going to associate with the definition that had the most emotional impact on you, especially as a child. This program is rated MA Mature. It is intended for mature audiences only, which in a backward society means that it's going to be loaded with immature content. Turn on Comedy Central sometime. If any of that programming, hint, hint, seems mature to you, you're backwards. It's those type of things that are targeting not only your subconscious, but your core beliefs. The beliefs that all your opinions and other beliefs are going to be built upon. And you see that this program is meant for mature audiences only. Oh, yes, yes, I'm mature. This is for mature people. And you start to associate all the immaturity in the program with maturity. Do you get that? I mean, there are children who act more mature than many adults nowadays. Once you're centered and grounded, you'll begin seeing things as they really are. But until that time, you probably won't recognize them unless they're pointed out to you. And even then you may have trouble still seeing it, because it's become part of your core programming. I mean, honestly, how many of you have given thought to the rating of shows and its impact on your subconscious? And be honest, probably not many. But in order to be a magician, you need to start thinking like a magician. You'll begin to see how backwards the world really is. I'm always breaking things down into either their subconscious implications or their correspondences. You know, not that long ago it was cleaning supplies. Lemon-scented pine sol. Well, lemon corresponds with the sun, pine corresponds with Mars, both of which are used for purification and cleansing. And now you know why those are the two most popular cleaning supply scents. You start understanding things a whole lot more when you know the correspondences. So, anyway, I wanted to get back to the importance of finding your passion and picking a path and doing that just for the sake of doing it. And I know it sounds like the cliche every self-help book solution, but how many people are actually doing it? No, instead people try to find the quick fix or follow someone else's path. And you see this all the time where someone will gain all these followers like a cult. And you can't disagree with the leader because the leader says this must be true, so it must be true. Everyone from Alex Jones to L. Ron Hubbard. Go try debating a follower of Scientology and see what happens. See, when people perceive someone else as possessing the truth, whether or not it really is the truth doesn't matter. It's if they perceive it to be, they will then follow that person hoping to get at the truth that they think that person is in possession of. They basically just want it handed over to them. Here, my little follower, have some truth. Ho, 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 ho. But here's the thing. When you find your purpose, and you're doing that for the sake of just doing it, then you become the truth, the light, and the way. Oh. Yeah. And now people want to follow you. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't learn from other people, but never allow them to pull you off of your path to follow theirs, like a cultist. I can share with you the experiences and perspectives I have on my path, but your path is your own. And I'm not talking left or right-hand paths here. I'm talking about your own individual purpose and path. Now, if I'm able to help you along your path, and, great. If you feel the need to thank me, that's cool. But don't praise, because I'm not worthy. I'm simply not worthy. I'm just a human being, same as you. The only reason that I may have a better perspective of the occult and these things is simply I've devoted more time to it. I've had a lot more time. It's almost full time for me. And as such, I'm just merely trying to save you time in understanding these things. Now, some of you may be familiar with the concept of the Holy Guardian Angel, the Spirit of Taparith, and the Higher Self. And when you come into contact with that, it's going to tell you the same thing, for you to follow your passion and your purpose in life in your own path. And the sooner you find your purpose and path, the better off you're going to be. Because around 40, 42, when Saturn and Uranus swing around to oppose themselves natally, you're going to get a butt if you're not on your path. Now, this is the cause of the midlife crisis. Why do you think I'm all of a sudden compelled to do these videos? Almost every single planet in my chart has a correspondence to the occult and higher learning. 2 planets in Scorpio, 3 in Sagittarius. So as much as I'd like to spend all my time on the occult and studying and practicing, I have to begin teaching as well and passing on what I know, because that's just simply part of my path. I can't get around that. I've tried. Following your purpose and passion is really your own individual path to success, as long as it's for the service of others and not simply for the self. So doing it just for the sake of doing it eliminates those lust for results that we had talked about previously is the surest way to keep your magic from happening. This is why a lot of times those who do achieve a high degree of success end up being destroyed by their success, because now they're focused on the results instead of their passion to begin with. Guns N' Roses is a great example of it. Before success, I heard that they went like 100 miles just to make a gig with very, very few people because they didn't want to disappoint their fans. After success, a fan takes a picture of Axl Rose and he flips out, walks off stage mid-concert, and causes a riot. Why is it that Slash has enjoyed a very successful career after Guns N' Roses, while Axl Rose takes over a decade to make a single album, and it's not even really that good? Musical taste subjective.
What is the single biggest offer you've had? Put it all behind you and get back on a stage together.
Well, I've heard a lot of numbers.
What's the most ridiculous?
I've never been, handed a specific offer, but it's in the
7 figures, 8 figures.
I'd say it starts off with 7 figures, and then sometimes it starts to get, even more grandiose than that.
Is there any check that would tempt you?
I don't think it's a matter of that. It really isn't. I think you've got a situation where nobody involved wants to revisit. It's not just me. It's the whole, the whole band. And so I don't think there's a price tag that anybody's going to put in front of us that's going to make that work.
See, it's not about the money for him. It's not about the results. It's about the passion of playing music and doing what he loves to do that gets him the results. You know, in this backward society, we've all been trained to focus on the results. And it's not about that. It's not about that at all. They get us to focus on what we want out of life instead of just focusing on life itself. Don't focus on the fruit, focus on the tree, and the fruit will naturally come. If you focus solely on the fruit and neglect the tree will surely die and the fruit will never come. Well, hopefully you began reading Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And all the links I give are relevant, even if you think they're not. R.S.D. Tyler's page, you know, picking up women probably isn't your thing, or it may be, but you should watch his videos regardless, because it's going to show you how somebody on their path and purpose operates. It may not be your path, but you can learn a lot from somebody who is on their path. Birch Tree's Witch School page, you know, really old school witch. I'm not Wiccan per se, but that doesn't mean I can't learn a lot from this guy. He's doing what he loves to do. He knows his correspondences, his specialty is brewing. In fact, I recommend that you get your oils and supplies from him if possible, because he takes these things into account. So you should watch his videos. He really knows his shit. Okay? But back to the book, Outwitting the Devil. Now, I don't know if Napoleon Hill actually had a conversation with quote-unquote the devil, but there were things in the book that really stood out to me. The most probably being when, quote-unquote, the devil told Napoleon Hill that he was the negative half of the atom. Now, this is deeper knowledge that should not have been in the book. Now, I want you to think of the implications of that. Okay? Because that would mean that duality is built into the very atomic structure of all things. And then you wonder why I focus and stress the importance of duality and polarity so much, like a broken record. And you hear, you know, religious people saying, God is everywhere, God's in everything. Well, yeah, so is the darkness. And previously when I talked about how your environment can react to you, I want you to ponder that for a bit. But you really need to read the book, because we're going to be getting into a lot of that deeper stuff later. But don't freak out. Oh my God, there's knocks on the walls in response to my thoughts, and the environment's reacting to me. Oh shit. The deeper mysteries can literally drive you insane if you don't know how to handle them. So don't trip on it, otherwise you're just going to drive yourself nuts and won't be able to sleep. We will be covering all of that in due time, but for now, find your purpose and your path and simply focus on that. And I will see you next time. Take care.
Okay, so enough said about all that other crap. I'm going to let that be for now. If you're wondering, you hear the TV in the background, it's my daughter. I'm going to try to get that out with that new program there. It's kind of fun to fuck around with. But, hey, if you have Pico PP on your potty, baby, come on. You're doing good. Anyways, so, yeah, I'm in the living room kind of hanging out with her there right now. But anyways, so, ritual for finding passion and purpose with birth chart. Okay, so I'm reading a little bit off of here what I wrote down on my phone this morning. If you don't or can't see yourself as something you want or a specific career path, life choice, what can we do to help it along? All right, so doing a ritual to ask for that, basically. You know, you can make a sigil for, oh, I'm so happy, thankful, and grateful that I, found my passion and purpose, or that my passion and purpose was revealed to me, or I remembered my passion and purpose. Because, first of all right, there's a lot of, like I said, I got into a little bit, I'm going to get more in depth here. But, you could think something is something you want to be and do, and you can keep going back and forth. Like, oh, I want to be a psychiatrist. Oh, I want to be a doctor. Oh, I want to be a welder. Oh, I want to stay home dad and have a business. Oh, I want to be a psychiatrist, or I want to be a radio podcaster, or I want to be an actor, or I want to try singing, or I want to play an instrument. So first thing I would say is maybe go back in your mind as a child, even right now. What are your hobbies? What are the things you like to do? And if going to the gym is one of those, well, if you have a passion for that. So like when I used to go to the gym, I was doing it at home, but I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed talking about it and learning more about the body and muscles and all that. So that could quote unquote be something I need to look into as well for myself. And it's not something I thought about, because I think of like a gym trainer or anybody has to do with that kind of stuff as like this big buff guy where, at one point I was pretty buff, but I'm not very tall and I wasn't huge and stuff like that. So, but anyways, so I would say go back to your mind and, do you like skating? Do you like rollerblading? Do you like playing guitar? Do you like playing a sport? Stuff like that, and start working that way. Okay, so if those things aren't realistic or right now not realistic, depending on your age, right? If you're still pretty young and, the age of whatever sport you're trying to do isn't like, hockey or baseball where it's like low to mid 30s or, early 40s is very rare, but it does happen. If it's not one of those situations, then I would say, well, maybe it's worth looking at, and it could actually be a possibility. But from there, you're going to start remembering, because once you start, once again, like attracts like, and I'm going to get into that again, but once you're in this emotional state of, you're feeling good about the things you do, and you're taking pride in remembering that you're good at these specific things, right? So from there, what's going to happen is, you're going to start remembering more things, because you're just introduced and told your subconscious mind that, okay, well, I want to try to think about things of this nature, okay? So while you're consciously thinking about it, it may not come to you, but throughout the day, you're going to get insights on this, because after you stop trying to, what is it that I like to do, because the more you focus on something, the more it's harder to get. Not always, but sometimes, depending on your connection with the subconscious mind. So if you're a person that has a problem like that often, then that's probably why. And if you don't have that issue, then you might have a good connection with your subconscious mind, or at least one-way communication for the subconscious to you, maybe not necessarily the other way around. So if that is the case, well, then you may want to monitor what you're taking in, because if your subconscious mind has a direct effect to you, like telling you, remembering things, then it probably has a pretty profound effect on your outside reality as well, if it has that direct communication. Now, this is just speculation, a little bit of book stuff, but I mean, even the people that speculated in the books weren't like people that study this, if you can study this. So that's just speculation. But if you have that one-way connection, that means it's pretty strong. So, I mean, and this should go without saying for everybody. If you have that, I mean, everybody should be watching what they're taking in, because we all know the subconscious, or learning now anyways, scientists have even kind of figured it out, that our subconscious mind controls our outside world. So if that's the case, then we shouldn't be taking in things that can harm it. So anyways, that's just a little bit of food for thought. That wasn't anything I wrote down. Kind of watch these off-topic rants. Well, not really off-topic. That was definitely on topic. But anyways, I'm going to keep going here. So I wrote something about, ritual finding passion using your birth chart. And the only reason I put that in there is because, passion is directly tied to Mars. Mars being one of the lesser malefic, but he's tied to your passion. And passion gets a bad rep sometimes, in the sense of lust or crime of passion or kill passion or anyways, stuff like that. And what you love is Venus. So Frater Xavier actually says, check where your Venus is, check where your Mars is, the houses they're in, where that sign is on your chart, and what house and what planets are there. And from there you can make a decision. So like I said before, my Venus, so what I love, is with Moon and in Gemini. So what does Moon represent? Well, it's water. It's receptive, represents your subconscious mind. My Moon is also going to reflect characteristics of Venus, because it's with Venus. So I'm going to love, my subconscious mind's going to also love this shit. And it's in Gemini. What's Gemini? Communications, commerce, duality, stuff like this. The Moon has some pretty big ties to occult and all that, a lot of worshiping occult. And I got what my love is tied with my feminine and divine feminine energy, right? Because both both girls are right there, right? The moon is reflecting Venus, and so that's both girls, and that's the love energy, right? So my two women in my chart are both in the same house, right? So then that's what I love. Now my passion, that's my Mars. My Mars is in I'm about to say Capricorn, and the reason I say I'm not sure is because it could be Sagittarius. Mars is with. I gotta bring up my chart. You think I would know this by heart? I've written it down so many times, over and over again. Actually, I'm just gonna bring up my YouTube channel because I believe it's on there and I'll be able to see it. But anyway, so I already know my Mars is with Neptune because I've said this before. My passion is tied to, Neptune is another watery sign, dreams. It has ties to addiction. So my passion is going to have something to do. Now, every correspondent that has to do with your planet or the house or whatever, all the correspondence, because there's horrors, and that's why people get dumbfounded and overwhelmed sometimes because they're into astrology, but then they go somewhere and they hear, okay, you gotta learn houses, you gotta learn the signs, you gotta learn the planets, and then you get into the trines and all these different aspects, and there's so many different correspondences for every ring. It's not just like this house means this thing, there's one word for it, and this planet means one thing. They mean multiple things, and this is where that information overload happens, and then when that happens, people just kind of give up. But if you don't give up and you just kind of put it on the back burner and decide you're going to learn slowly, it will all just come to you, because the more you learn about the planets, it doesn't even have to be in an astrology setting or actually looking up astrology correspondences for the planets, just by studying magic and shit like that and ancient religions and all that and deities. You're going to see the deities that are tied to these planets and all that, and you're just going to learn these correspondences. They're just going to be part of your core knowledge. Now, once again, that's going to depend on everybody's personal placements and how they learn, if they're fast learners, slow learners, hands-on learners. I don't think you're going to see a hands-on kind of person maybe wanting to know about astrology, but someone like me who's into, my subconscious mind is tied with my Venus, reflecting it actually. So my love is like doubled for talking, for commerce, for, Mercury rules the sign of Gemini, my Mercury's in Taurus. Before that, Venus learns. Good girl. 1 second, baby, I'm coming. Come here. Sorry about that. She just made a big poop. Yay! Oh, we got white piece. Where's the white piece? Go give me the white piece. Go give me the white piece. Give me the white piece. Go get the white piece. Sorry, everybody. Give me one moment. Perfect timing. I'm running all these videos. I'm going to do my recording so I can stop time to shave and all that before I go. But I didn't do your dishes yet either. I just started taking my lunch and I'm trying to do this.
You're such a good girl.
I gotta get rid of that. I gotta go finish this up. How'd it go, boo? Look at that. Alright, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. If for some reason I end up letting this play, I am sorry. I'll probably try to cover up with something, a song, freighter, I don't know what, but I'll try to cover it up with something. But anyway, so going by the things I just said about finding your Mars and your Venus in your chart, Mars being what you're passionate about, Venus being what you love. Now, love can be multiple things, just like passion can be, right? Love can be, you can take into account, for women, I know learning about Zeus will teach you about Jupiter, right? Learning about St. Peter, teach you about Jupiter. Learning about Thor in Norse mythology will teach you about Jupiter. So that's kind of what I was getting at when I was talking about, you can learn a lot. Boo, are you still up here? Her potty thing's at the top of the stairs. You can learn a lot about planets and astrology from different places, such as the mythologies, different mythologies. Whatever one you like, I guarantee you there's some representation of 7 different people, 12 different people. If there's 12, then it's definitely your signs, okay? If there's 6 side figures and one main figure, kind of like Jesus and his disciples. Disciples are different from apostles. There's 12. One of them disciples, one of them are the apostles. Okay, so there's 6 people that were close to him. He was the 7th, and then there was 12. So anyways, there's always that story. So you can learn a lot about astrology in that sense just by doing that. But anyways, so I brought up my YouTube page. Right at the top of the page, I see my Mars is Capricorn. So I was right. So it's actually my Saturn is in. It's not in Scorpio anymore. It's in the 7th house, and it's also in. Saturn is in Sagittarius. So Saturn and my Uranus are in Sagittarius, and then in Capricorn I have Mars and I have Neptune. And Mars is 18 degrees and Neptune is not 18. Neptune is first at the 5 degrees, and then 18 or something to that effect. Anyways, or 32 and 45. Anyways, okay. So then. If I want to know what Mars has to do, how Mars is in Capricorn, I would look that up. I've already said that before, and I'm not going to get into that because I have a few more things I want to say. But I have to take in Neptune in that position too, and it's kind of funny, right? If you look at my chart, well, these are almost directly across from each other, because where my second house, your first house, is kind of in line. It's in line with your 7th house, right? And your 6th is with your 12th. So your second house, which is where mine are, is kind of in line with your 8th house, right? So to speak. But depending on the degrees and all that, because my 8th and 9th house is basically in line with my 2nd and my 3rd house. So where the moon is, she's kind of more in line with fucking Mars, and Neptune is more in line with Venus, basically, but they're all kind of across from each other. So my love and my passion are almost opposite of each other, and that's going to create some discourse, because anything that's actually opposite each other is not a good thing. They're kind of staring at each other, and one way to look at it is they're kind of playing the grass is greener on the other side. When there's nothing really on the other side, or if it's a planet it gets along with kind of thing, then it's not so bad. If there's 2 planets there that don't like each other, then it can be really bad. So if you were to have, because in 2020 we're about to have Saturn and Jupiter being opposite each other, staring at each other. I forget what sign they're going through. I know it's going to be in Aquarius or whatever. Age of Aquarius and all this shit that's happening, but anyways, and that's what people are reading. We got the loving, benevolent king, Jupiter, Zeus, and then over here you're going to have Hades, his brother, and everybody knows, they saw the movie, what happened when Hades and, the first one anyways, they got together the second one and they whooped some ass before they died and got wiped out and the gods are gone. That's very symbolic of our day and age, and when Christianity took over and stopped us believing in gods and all that, so that's very symbolic. But it's just to show you, in the first movie would be more what I'm talking about, okay? You're that Perseus, and the 2 people, there's 2 forces in you. You got one is Zeus, and you got one is Jupiter. You got Zeus, and the other one is Hades, and they're fighting with each other. But this is happening inside you. One accepts you with open arms and loves you and wants to help you. The other one wants to fucking kill you. And this is your good side, your positivity when you're in a happy mood. And the other one's your dark side, your shadow side that I'm telling you need to integrate. And what I'm in the process of doing, and why I fucking hate working and leaving my daughter. And I didn't want to do it. I wanted to do magic for the rest of my life and just stay home. And I realized, no, I can't do that. The thing I hate has to become something I can deal with, something I can cope with, something I love. I made episodes on the pendulum and how, the pendulum is going to keep swinging back and forth. Sometimes you're going to be up, sometimes you're going to be down. And when you're down, you can actually, whatever the circumstance is, if you can find the light in that situation, and not only that, embrace it. And realize that it's not as bad as it is. When you face your fears, 9 times out of 10, there's nothing there to face. And then the one time you do face it, you realize it's not bad. If that one time you go to face, if you're scared of spiders or snakes, well, most of the time it's not going to be there, or you're going to accidentally walk on it and threat's gone. But there's going to be that one time where it's going to be there in your face, and you're going to realize that thing is more scared of you than you're scared of it. Or it's gonna look at you and then run away. Something to that effect. You know what I mean? You don't have to. There's nothing actually to worry about. Because even if the thing you fear happens to kill you, then you're just gonna go past the veil or wherever you go, and they're gonna be like, you're gonna be in fear, let's say. And if you're in fear, well then they're gonna say, I'm gonna go up there and go, oh fuck, that fucking guy Corey and all those gurus and Birch and Frater and all the witchcraft magic books I read were true, and Christianity was false, and I got to go do it again, and the whatever is there is gonna say, yeah, unfortunately. So try to remember this time, okay? Try to fucking remember, and you're gonna be like, yeah, well, that's the game. You can't. We're trying hard to remember the whole time when we come down there, but we can. That's why it's so much fun. It has nothing to do with all the bullshit we go through. It's just a matter of trying to remember who you are when you're down here, kind of thing. But anyways, so that's a little bit about the passion and the purpose stuff. When it has to do with your birth chart, I wanted to just talk a little bit about that. Because I said birth chart and then I didn't really go into anything. Now I left my phone with all my notes downstairs, so I might go to another video here, or I might just put another recording on, one or the other. But give me one moment, I'll be right back. All right, and I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being, thank you for being here today. I really do appreciate it. So, finding a path is difficult. Doing ritual questions, doing a ritual to find your passion. The whole questions when you're meditating on a question, basically asking before sleep. I could do it verbally. I think it's better to write it down, put it beside you under your pillow, whatever it is you want help with, such as, what should I do, or what am I good at that I enjoy. The other thing that you heard Frater talk about was self-talk and self-visualization. When he referred to what's his name? Neville Goddard, he said it was like a Bob Proctor of his time, basically. And he took the Genesis story, and which is great. He said God made man in his image. Which, there's other translations of the Bible that says Elohim made man in his image. And Elohim in Greek means the seven, meaning the fucking planets, the actual real gods, the energies that are within us, which kind of makes sense because we are all supposed to be part of one, and we're how God experiences this life. He made this creation, but he wants to experience this creation. So through us, he experiences it, right? Which is why our subconscious, to me, it makes sense, is why our subconscious picks up everything. That we don't necessarily need all the information that the subconscious has, but the subconscious is picking up everything, and that's our link to the divine, as how we learn it, is how magic community, magic people all describe it. It's the subconscious is our link to divine, to talk to divinity. If we want to change our life, we have to put something specifically in our programming, we have to program something specifically in our subconscious to change our circumstances, or to remove something. If you have a bad habit you want to remove, you need to either go to a hypnotist or do some self-hypnosis to, quit smoking. Let's use that as an example. Or you can make your own script, and every night, having just a recorded affirmation on your thing saying, I'm so thankful and grateful that I no longer smoke cigarettes or smoke anything. Listen to that baby 1,000 times every night while you're sleeping, and it's going to directly go into your subconscious. I believe that maybe you shouldn't do it for the entire time you're sleeping. So if you wake up and it's still on, and it's been about 3 hours, I would say take it off. So your subconscious mind has time to just be itself and do its things, right? Because, it's going to pick up stuff whether you intentionally put something in your head or not. So depending on your environment, if your significant other sleeps with the TV on, or there's noise in the background or something you don't really want your subconscious mind to pick up. It probably does anyways, but with your eyes closed and your ears covered, it's only got the mouth, the nose, and touch, but that's kind of suspended as well when you're sleeping, because you're not really aware of what your body's doing. You're in a dream state, if you're even present at all. You dream every single night, whether you know it or not. So if you don't know it, then, or you can't remember, then your conscious mind does a hell of a job blocking it every morning, or you don't have a great connection at all. Now, I don't believe that last one to be true, because I very seldom dream. I had sleep paralysis 2 nights ago, I think I said in my YouTube video. Now it would be 2 nights ago, but it was the night previous to that, and it was weird. Like I said, while I was sleeping, I had 432 hertz on the TV. When my wife falls asleep, I generally turn her show off so I don't have to listen and intake anything from the TV while I'm sleeping, and I put on 432 hertz because I believe you should have your body in harmony, and 432 hertz music, and anything of a nice harmony, 528, whatever. There's other ones for different things, like 4 hertz could be telepathy or astral travel, but then there's a high one for astral travel and stuff like that. And once again, there's programs you can get to test these things in case you think they might be being deceptive and it's not actually going to help you. But anyways, so I put that on. But I normally take autoplay off, and I'll put one on that's for 4 to 8 hours. And I hadn't done that. I just found the first one I saw because I was tired and I went to sleep. And autoplay was on, and it went to the next one, and the next one was how to astral travel. And I only know this because I went through my history after, and there was one for astral travel, lucid dreaming, outer body, one for meeting your higher self, one for meeting your spirit guides. These are all like hour pieces. So by the time I got into I started getting the sleep paralysis. And at first it was the uncomfortable kind. It wasn't the dark presence and all that kind that I used to have. And that was, once again, one of my fears I had to face. That was during my first Dark Night of the Soul. Getting into spirituality, but being scared of spirits wasn't very, very helpful whatsoever. So I had to face that fear. And, I kept, around the time where it got to the point where I pushed it off as long as I could, I started getting these sleep paralysis. And, that really sucks. Who the fuck wants sleep paralysis? Especially the scary kind I was getting. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. Different things. I've already went over this. But anyway, so once I dealt with that fear, it released that. But I was still getting the sleep paralysis, which tells me something. There's something more to that weird electricity feeling and being aware in your body, but you're sleeping, but you're in the same place that you are where your body is. So knowing what I know, and then once again, this is going to be a mix of stuff that I've read that I don't actually know, or stuff that my subconscious knows that I haven't actually read myself, and mixed with the stuff I have read about the topic, and then with my little logical spin and how my mind works with whatever programming is in me to come up with these specific conclusions. But it tells me that once I got rid of that fear, now all I have is that weird electrical feeling, and it's not as intense or scary anymore. Whenever you have this evil dark presence, or your wife turning into something with red eyes wanting to kill you, then that electrical feeling is also pretty intense because there's a bunch of harmful things around you and all the bells going off your head like you're in danger. So even that feeling is perceived as danger. And the first few times it happened after that, just having that feeling with none of the other things was kind of like telling me that, something bad's going to happen, because last time you got this feeling, it was surrounded with all these circumstances. So once I got past that part, now it doesn't really hurt that anymore. Although that last night was pretty intense, but it might have just been because it hasn't happened in a while, or I didn't really remember how it felt. But so this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's what Freire talks about by guiding your gates of your mind, and this is something that's meant to do that. And, I've been told by many people, and some of them I trust, saying that's supposed to be the part that happens before you either do, I would say it's more lucid dreaming, because then straight up astral travel. But it was very much electrical, feel like you're shaking and you can't move your body. Well, I can move my head. It feels like I can move my head. And once I can get that head to move just a little bit, I'm out of it, basically. But it's a struggle, and it takes absolutely everything just to move my head. So, but the fact that I'm conscious in my head, knowing it's a dream, knowing I'm in a dream, and the fact that I'm exactly where I am, like where my body is in real time, and I'm in the dream. Because once I move and I manage to wake up, I'm just laying there. I didn't actually move. So it's not like I'm actually paralyzed within my body when this is happening. But that's what it feels like, because in the dream, I'm exactly where I laid down, and then I managed to get myself up. And I would assume when I wake up, I'd be sitting up, but I'm not. I'm still laying down. So that tells me that it would be more like a lucid dream, but it tells me that it's the beginning stages of being able to do lucid dreaming, which is being able to control your dreams. You wake up where your body is because you're in control, right? I mean, I don't know how if you could lucid dream and just be in a random dream anywhere and, start taking control of it or not. I don't know, because I've never done it, so I'm not going to pretend I know. But to me, and probably maybe this is just personal to me or how my mind works, but it's kind of like the way of my mind telling me, okay, you're in a dream, but you got control, because it's making it look like I'm awake. You know what I mean? It's kind of saying, I feel like I'm awake, and maybe I start doing stuff like I'm awake, and then eventually realize I'm dreaming. I can't really say it, but to me, it's a sign of improvement. It's a sign of, and it hasn't happened in a while, because, like I said, going through shadow work, going through having to go back to work and stuff like that, a lot of different things. I wasn't really focusing on the magic and doing all these different things, but anyways, so I forget how I bounced onto that topic, but your importance. You talked about the importance of self-talk and visualization, and these things are huge. So this is where the next part comes in with the banish, reject, or accept your thoughts, right? It's the first exercise Frieder Xavier tells you to do. It's also in the book Kabbalah and the Great Work of Self-Transformation. So finding the path is difficult, especially if you aren't in control of your thoughts. So the banish or accept. If banishing or accepting your thoughts, if you have to banish a bad thought before if you have to banish a bad thought so that you don't accept it not knowingly, right? Because people, before they do this or learn about any of this stuff, they are accepting their thoughts as their own. They're just assuming it's their thoughts, and they're just assuming that they don't have a choice, that they have to think about this. They can try not to think about it or try to think about something else, but most people don't know that they can just say, I reject, I deny that thought, and 9 times out of 10 it goes away, and also 9 times out of 10 it will come back. But that's something I'll talk about in a second. But most people just go along with it, and it's kind of like one of those verbal agreements, or when a cop tricks you into saying yes in all these different ways. If you say like if they plan out how you did something, and you kind of say exactly, or that's about right, or something like that, then it's like something omission. I forget what the term of it, but you're basically agreeing to it. And it kind of works the same thing with these thoughts that are put in our head. And by aware, like I said, I've said many times, you start thinking of thoughts as spirits, and it might scare you out of having the negative thoughts, or being more vigilant, saying you banish them. Now, I'm not going to elaborate on that here today. I'm actually going to not go against that, but give you a different version, or maybe a different perception. But it still, I think for the most part, works for as if it's spirits. And I say that because spirits are closer to thought forms. And, I give 3 alternate explanations for how the subconscious kind of works when it comes to these thoughts and all that. And in case I don't say it, to me it's a little bit of all 3. But if you're still not in control of whatever is around us that brings the thoughts we hear or act out, this is probably why during the initiation, the neophyte grade, because you're doing the vanishings and the groundings, it's to gain control and learn that you have that choice that I just spoke about. That whether you create the thoughts or they're always around you, and depending on if you're in a bad, sad, mental, emotional state, or in a good, happy one, then you'll have the thoughts associated with that. That's the whole like attracts like. So if you're in a shitty mood, depressive mood, well, you're going to attract the depressing thoughts that are around you. So, you can either think that those thoughts are going to come to you when you're in that state, or that they're always around you, and the way you receive them is if you say AM is the bad fucking the bad emotion, and FM is the good emotion. All right, well, you can't listen to an AM radio station while you're on FM, and vice versa. So that's all I'm kind of trying to get at here, is that if you are in a bad mood, well, all those bad ideas and thoughts that are around you that you can't see, like fucking prana, like UV rays, like the air that we breathe in, none of us can see that shit. You can't see the wind either. You just see the leaves move. So if all these thoughts are around you all the time, well, the way to tune into them is to be in the right emotional state, basically. And it goes the same thing for the positive ones, obviously. So that's how those come into your head. This is one way of looking at it, and it's not the only way. I'm going to give you more options as we go. I believe that we're more of a receiver. Well, our mind, our brain, both conscious and the unconscious mind, are like a receiver. We accept or reject the ideas or thoughts around us, and then act out or do or manifest what we accepted, whether it's good or bad. So consciously, we need to accept, deny the thoughts that we want. We need to accept or deny the thoughts that we want or don't want. Now, putting aside the emotion or state of mind aspect to all of this, which is super important, right? It's part of that circuit. Like I said before about channeling, I know, I know, like I said, I just went over this. I put on books when I go to sleep most of the times, and some of the books I never consciously read, but when I finally go to do and read them or listen to them, whatever the case may be, I realize I already know that information. Now, is that because I've listened to people before, or the person who wrote that book, I've watched his videos, and now I'm listening to his book? Possibly, that's very possibly. Or it could be because I fall asleep to the books playing almost every night for about up to like 3 weeks ago, for like almost 3 years now. And talk like the subtle channeling I just talked about that I do. The thoughts come when I'm doing or recording or just thinking. If I accept a certain thought, like this is what I want to think about, this is what I want to talk about, I want to talk about channeling, I want to talk about thoughts, I want to talk about ideas, I want to talk about emotional states, I want to talk about astrology. Okay, whenever I accept that idea, that's what I'm going to talk about. Then I continue to receive the info about that thought, whether it's astrology or about emotions or chakras or whatever. This I start receiving info, like being bombarded with the info, and not always right away. Sometimes I gotta kind of stop thinking about it, take my mind off it until it starts, and that's kind of like the magic process. You set it and then forget it. But that I didn't really have. It says it makes sense. But as I say, it makes more sense, but it's not mine. These thoughts aren't the ones that I've ever thought of or brainstormed about and came up with. You know what I mean? These thoughts are potentially something I heard while I was sleeping, or heard and I just don't remember it. But for the most part, they weren't on the tip of my tongue. Like I'm not even. It's hard to explain, but the reason why I think it's like a type of channeling is because I'm channeling something, whether it's my own mind or something else around me. I don't actually have that idea in my head, you know what I mean? And then boom, it comes once I allow it to come by not thinking about it. And I say that maybe it isn't channeling, and it's me getting info from my subconscious mind while being conscious, which I think is great, which is the reason why everybody should meditate, because meditation is basically trying to connect your minds. You're trying to connect both minds and gain insights, and we use a ritual magic. During ritual magic, you're using your conscious mind to put instructions into the subconscious mind. And you're supposed to be relaxed or in a trance-like state when you do that as well. So you're kind of conscious, but you're also opening up the doors for the subconscious, because the subconscious is only active, like, for you to remember it if you're in a trance-like state. That's why if you're not quite in a deep sleep yet, you sometimes dream, following whatever, or whatever you hear on the TV is kind of playing out in your head in your dream. That's why you remember them more, because you're a lot closer to the conscious mind. It's almost as if it's still there in a manner of speaking. And it's sleepy. It's like half conscious, whereas your subconscious is just below the conscious, or just above it, however you want to look at it, but it's starting to come out. So they're almost in an equal state at this point. One's always out and one's always in. So if you're sleeping, your subconscious is in and your conscious is out, and when you're awake, your conscious is in and your subconscious is out. Well, at this point, they're both meeting halfway. 50% of your conscious mind is on the sleep side and 50% of it's still awake, and then your subconscious, 50% of it's where it was on the sleep side, or is on the wherever you want to say it is, and then 50% of it's coming to take over, and then as the conscious leaves, the subconscious takes over, so there's never nothing there, obviously, because that would be probably death or brain damage or something to that effect. So this, and that's pretty cool. Like, even if, let's say that isn't channeling what I'm doing. Let's say channeling is something completely different, which I don't think. I think it's kind of a mix of a few things, and I think it's definitely personal and different for every person. But um, um, but I think it's great because this means while I'm conscious and not even in a trance, I'm connected to my subconscious. Um, and, automatic writing, which is like a form of channeling, and works the same way for me, to be honest, as, whether I'm recording, whether I'm just thinking or writing. It's the same way it comes in my head. And the only difference is the output, basically. Either I'm saying it, either I'm just sitting there thinking about it, which is the worst way because you tend to lose it all, or I'm writing it down. My first way of getting info this form was the automatic writing. So this is if this is a form of channeling and it happened the same as the other one, then this is why I assume it's a form of channeling. And like I said, again, this could be unique just for me. But regardless if it's channeling or it's the subconscious helping my conscious mind to remember something I can't remember, or that the subconscious mind is linked to the divine, astral, spirit entities, and with practice you get better, or that the subconscious picks up everything you are exposed to, from the conversations or things you watch intentionally to the news feed on Facebook or the TV, radio, audiobook you go to sleep with. And when your conscious mind, are in a state that is the same as the info collected by the subconscious, then the subconscious then releases the info as ideas or thoughts that are of the same vibration. So you got your mind on the right station, and now your subconscious is you got your emotional state is your FM. So you just put it on FM, and then now whether it's say you hate country, well, I'm guessing you're on AM, and then a country music song is coming through, or gospel, or like a live church something's coming through the AM radio, and then oh no, I want to change that. So you put on a different radio station, whether it's top 40 pop crap, or death metal, or just regular classic rock, or whatever the case is, and it gets you happy or whatever. So all the thoughts are all from your subconscious mind, but comes from the environment and things you did, touch, saw, smelt, taste, heard, felt, so on. It's a circle. It's if we manifest our life through our subconscious mind, and the things that were programmed in it, whether accidental, on purpose, or unintentional, but that programming got inserted, and by accepting thoughts, and from when you were able to start accepting thoughts, or at least feeling thoughts, or hearing thoughts, having thoughts, basically whatever age that happens at, to right now, and the things you've seen and went through, all play into the environment basically programming you. So all those things were absorbed by your subconscious mind. Everything you did from age, let's just use 4, because I talked about that before, age 4 to right now, for me, would be age 33, Everything, every day, every minute of every day, whatever I was doing was being picked up by my subconscious mind. Some of those things are going to be just neutral, just nothing on my personal emotional scale of good and bad, let's say. And then there's going to be some circumstances that were terrible that I probably faced every day. Once again, this is why I say on my emotional scale, because if I have a fear of talking in public, well, every time I had to do that at school, then that would be a very uncomfortable and anxiety and stressful time. So the subconscious mind is going to pick up things that led up to that. It's going to pick up things that happened, things I did, all these little things. And when something similar to that happens now, some of these little thoughts and ideas are going to come up. It's not going to be like, remember this time. It's going to be however it interpreted it, because it doesn't use language like we do, right? We learn a whole different language that's only used by us. And then that allows us to not be able to talk to our subconscious mind, which is way more important than learning English and math and the Bible and all this other crap, But anyways, I'm getting off topic. So meaning, you before starting magic are acting, living out the things programmed in you as a baby, child, teenager, young adult. And now if you remove that programming that was hindering you and insert new programming that you want to do, such as, job, a partner, finding your purpose, you will now start acting that out. Right? So everything you have in you up until now, you've been acting out based on everything that got programmed in you. Now, whether it's, a day for a day to just all the same things that happen, and it all depends on your emotional state, which is kind of what I believe, that's what you go through. But I don't think your emotional state has an effect on programming such as poverty. Like you saw your parents struggle all your life and have to work regular jobs and never get too far ahead and realize that's just the way it is. Well, that's something that's just going to be like a program, not good or bad. It's just something that was inserted into you, right? Now, different situations that happen along those times will affect your emotion, perpetuate and keep that thing happening. But that is the program in you that has to be gone. And so what I'm saying is, if you can remove that and successfully put in, okay, well, I want to have a house, I want to have a car, I want to have a wife, I want to own my own business. You put that in now. Now, this is why the bigger the thing you put into your subconscious mind, the longer it takes, because understand you're putting in a lifestyle and you're not just putting in, I want 10 grand, or I want an orange ball, or I want my kid to get accepted to this, whatever the case is. Smaller things are going to happen faster than bigger things because there's so many more variables that have to be set up for that to happen. So you can't just say, okay, I wish for this, and then when it doesn't happen, say magic doesn't work. Well, no, it's a bigger process than that. You know what I mean? You had to see a lifetime of your parents struggling for that programming to be put in there and reaffirmed and reperpetuated and reaffirmed and reperpetuated, and then you see them getting hard times and then you see them get good times. You saw the pendulum swing, which is why it resonates with you within your parents' life and stuff like that. So that programming took time to be reinforced inside you. Therefore, you also have to do the same with your new programming, which is why, you go see specialists for most times for this stuff, because it can be hard to do this to your own self. Not only are you going through this awakening and realizing everything you were told was a lie and trying to get rid of emotional blocks and trying to have an open mind towards everything, but now you have to fucking reprogram your whole self. And then, this is why I stay doing little things first. So there's always these proofs. So you keep working up those little things, because then, you get a smaller thing done and then a bigger thing and then a bigger thing. Eventually, when you get to something really big, it's really not big because everything before it was pretty darn close to that size. The thing right before the big thing you're trying right now. Let's say, okay, I got 10 grand, so I want to try 12 grand, right? Well, that's not going to be as hard. It's not going to be that hard as if I was trying 50 or 100 grand. That's a hell of a lot bigger. And every step was a bit lower every time, right? Now, I'm not saying you have to do that. You can go for the big thing, but I don't think you're hauled out long enough for it. And you should be doing things in between, instead of looking at it in a way of, this didn't work, and just keep trying to say and spell over and over again. What you should be doing is doing a bunch of small things that all interconnect and go towards the same goal. First you find what you're going to like and enjoy and can be profitable. Once you find that, okay, is there any skills I'm missing? Okay, I want to learn those skills. Okay, from there, what do I need as, a means of, say you don't have a car but you need to drive somewhere. Well, you need to work on that. Let's say if it's stuff you need to do at home. Let's say if it's specific training you don't have, that. If it's special equipment, whatever the case is. If you need a daycare for your kid to do this stuff, you got to figure out all the little things before you just go for the big thing. Because what happens when you get that big thing, but you don't have all the other stuff there. You know what I mean? Say you got just enough money to pay for the one big thing, but yet now you don't have the equipment or the babysitter or the training or the car or anywhere to get there. Well, then you're not going to be able to do it, right? It's like that genie that, the guy asked the genie for a boat. The fucking boat falls on him. Or I want to be off the ocean living in a beautiful house, and he gets this fucking houseboat with a hole in it. I don't know, but you know what I'm trying to get at, right? All I'm trying to do is say, work your way up. And not only will the little magics that you perform be easier, happen faster,
and you kind of need them anyway, so it's cool. And it's also going to reinforce in your mind that this shit works, and by the time you go for the big thing, you're going to have no doubt in your mind that this works. But anyways, I'm going to continue. I believe that we're more of a receiver. I already said that. Oh, come on, keep going. All right, same way. Relax, chance properly. Great, always contact myself. Okay, same way that first. Sorry, I'm just trying to find out where I was so I can phone shut off. Fuck, sorry about the day here, guys. It's pretty brutal when I do this. I'm sorry about that. All right. From your subconscious mind, but comes from the environment, or I'm almost how I'm supposed to be. So, now, if you banish the thoughts that will stop or slow down your manifestations, you will need to banish the bad thoughts and replace it with, I accept the idea that I will earn a 6-figure year salary doing my purpose. Frater Xavier said in his early videos that doing this exercise, the banishing and accepting exercise, for 3 months, after doing that, it's like the bad thoughts don't even bother you anymore. Which, is true, because I still have bad thoughts that come after banish, but it's not the same ones that were here a month ago, and those ones weren't the same as the previous month. I'll talk about that in a second. It's like, I also think it's like a repeating circuit. You're not allowing your subconscious to keep those ideas, so they get discarded, and only the good ones are there for you to keep accepting, which will keep you in a good emotional state. So even if you watch something that's depressing or go through something that's depressing, and later your subconscious, it grabs something from there because it sees all, and it offers you a sad idea or thought because you might be in, let's say, a neutral state, and in neutral states maybe you get both. This is just hypothetical. I don't know if that's true or not. I think you would get neutral ideas, but anyways, because you're in a good state, then it's easy to reject it. But like attracts like, so that probably wouldn't happen. All right. This is why it's hard to know your passion or purpose during your neophyte or before that. Let's say you haven't even started curriculum yet and you're just trying to do stuff. Well, because the self-talk and the self-image Frater X speaks about in this process, or without accepting or banishing, your self-talk and your self-image is just going to go by what you feel, basically. So let's say you do know what you want, and it's accurate, and it's not some impulsive crap you picked up and accepted a few months ago by TV, the same thing seen over and over again. You accepted you wanted a house. Well, everybody wants a fucking house, but anyways, thoughts are, self-talk is going to be good or bad depending on your emotional state. It's circular once again. Thoughts are first, I would say, and I only say this because if you're happy, then accept a bad thought, then you'll become in a bad emotional state. But I guess you can change your thought that comes to you by changing your emotion state, and vice versa, I guess. So there really isn't a first. I mean, I would say the thought is first, but you have to accept it, and then it becomes that after. But anyways, that's a moot point, because all you need to know is that it's circular. If your self-talk is you thinking you'll never achieve your dream or do your purpose as career, shit, stop this. Oh, my phone's getting all funky. Sorry, everybody. I got some issues with my fucking phone. Oh my god, fucking crack screen. It keeps pushing buttons now like I'm fucking typing. It's gonna fuck up my whole thing. Because when you're happy, accept the thought. Okay, yeah, this is gonna be a terrible episode. But anyways, if your self-talk is you some image, some page, fucking Christ. Okay, if you want to argue, okay. If your self-talk is you thinking that you'll never achieve your dream or do your purpose as a creator, then your self-image will be one of the same nature. If there's going to be a picture, an idea, your idea, your thought, whatever in your head, that you're never going to amount to anything. And then, in some way, shape, or form, you're just going to picture yourself, doing shitty as you are now, or even worse, basically. And, you can say, well, I'm not able to visualize. I don't have self-image. Yeah, I have self-talk. It's kind of like, your conscious or whatever talking to you and all that. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. But you also have self-image. Everybody does. And you can argue that if you want, but you probably don't remember your dreams either if you're not very good at visualizing. I mean, I'm sure you can remember some, but you probably don't get it often. But you still have that. You still have your dreams every night. We already went over that. It's the same with the self-image. The talk will create an image, and always the reason you don't remember your dreams and don't see your self-image is the same reason you need to do an affirmation 100 to 1,000 times a day for like fucking 3 months. It's because the conscious mind will block it from getting to the subconscious. I also already went through this. This is why the law of attraction said, or for affirmations, they say to do it when you first wake up and because when you go to bed. Different brainwave frequencies. I already went over this as well. You are in before bed, before you fall asleep. You can be close to a trance or meditative state, and the conscious mind is tired and can't block it. So the exercise banish or accept is crucial to your manifestations. That more crucial than you know, and will help you actually find your passion and get on your purpose. Think of it as these thoughts and ideas and random crap that your subconscious has picked up over all these years before this point. You may have actually created thought forms and habits out of some of these random things and receive. So if you find yourself banishing the same thing over and over again, it might be like it keeps coming back, right? But it's more likely because you were exposed to that certain situation over and over again, kind of like I said with the whole fear of talking in front of the class. And when you're in that emotional state of whatever emotional state dictates that idea or thought, well, whenever you're in there and whatever circumstances are present, it's going to trigger that specific idea to come back. And so you banish it, but it has 100 of them. But you have 100 of them you picked up. You know what I mean? That are still in there, or you accepted. So you'll have to reject and I banish like 100 times, and that's why I started accepting a good thought after I banished the bad one. Depending on how low your emotional state is, it can change your state and thoughts on to a good state, and that just means like I said earlier. If you're in a bad mood or having bad thoughts, if you change your emotional state, then like attracts like, you'll start getting good thoughts. Or the opposite, by saying I deny that thought of me not being able to pay my mortgage, and I accept the thought that I will have double the amount my mortgage is by the day it comes out of the account. I will the harm-free, so mote it be name, magical name, whatever. That's what I do. And, depending on how deep your depression or sad or bad state is, that can actually knock you out of the bad state. If you say that 2 or 3 times, it might actually get in there, a little bit anyways. And it doesn't have to be about the same topic if you don't want to be. If it's a lot easier to just say something like, I don't accept that I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage, and I accept that my wife is going to come have sex with me. And if that puts you in a good mood, then hey, you're out of that state. Doesn't mean you don't have to still do those banishings 100 times, but this way you can kind of, I'll do 20 today, I'll do 20 tomorrow, I'll do 20 the next day, and see how many it keeps coming back at me. And I'll just keep knocking them out of the park. Because what's the alternative? Accepting them, or just banishing them and not, what I mean? Or just ignoring it and letting it pile up? And no, because you're going to keep getting more and more and more. In this sense, it becomes like an affirmation. And, if you're focusing on only the bad thing, and you do it, so let's say you do the 100 in a row, and you're just focusing on, you keep saying, I don't accept, or I banish, or I deny that I won't be able to pay my mortgage this week, or this month, or whatever the case is. Well, if you're doing that over and over again 100 times, then it's going to be very hard to not focus on that issue. You know what I mean? You're That's the only thing you're kind of focusing on. So in that sense, it would be helpful to put that spin on it. Add, when you banish, you must invoke. That's the line I got from Birch. Well, it rings true in this as well, and that's why I started doing that. All right, I had to shut my phone off and put it back on because it kept going crazy on me. But we're almost done here. And there's a chance that could also be a habit if it keeps coming back like that. And for a habit, I would say, if you can afford a shrink or a hypnosis, then go see them. And if not, well, just do the same thing. Make it's not hard to read you can read a couple self-hypnosis books, and then there's apps you can even make your own hypnosis shit on. I got a few books on here. Maybe if I can put the links up, I will, for the free PDFs. But essentially, I would just do what I just said, whatever that statement was. If you're worried about not paying your mortgage, well, technically then you probably have a habit of not being able to pay stuff, and you can easily figure that out by your trends, right? Are you always late paying your mortgage? Okay, well then that might be the actual habit that's in there. So yeah, you can say, I reject that I won't be able to pay my mortgage. I reject the idea that I will be however you want to word that, okay, that you can't pay your mortgage. You don't want to use can't or I won't, because those are negative words. So you have to switch those around and find a way to do it, because that's super important, super crucial. And say you accept that you'll have double the money by the date it needs to be paid. And you say that over and over again. You have that repeat about 1,000 times on a recorder, and you play it while you sleep. And then I would say you do that for maybe, I don't know, half an hour to an hour on the recorder of just that. And then after that, you put in an affirmation of, every month on my payday, I have increased my wage to double. I will leave somewhere to be, basically, harm-free. Something like that. That's in line with what you have. Because if your problem is because you don't have enough money, well, that's a good way to fix it. Now, if your problem is you don't have enough discipline or control to not spend money on things you don't need, and then you're always short, well, then you might want to make an affirmation saying that you're grateful and thankful that you are now free from reckless spending, and you're free from debt, something to that effect. And you let that play for like 2 or 3 hours, and then I would, either shut it off, let it go off. This way your subconscious mind's got a couple hours to maybe give you a dream, show you a message or something, I'm almost about done here and there. My phone was fucking up on me again, so I might just have to call it a day. Because it won't let me scroll up or scroll down or even click on anything. Yeah, it's going all fucking haywire. Cocksucker, come on. But anyways, so to me, it's a little bit how the subconscious mind works. It's like that receiver, basically, and your emotional state is kind of like picking AM or FM or whatever. So you go through the 2 emotional states. There's either fear, there's love, right? So we're receiving these thoughts. So it doesn't matter if you want to think that the thoughts are spirits that are always around you, depending on your mood, whatever. Well, you accept and banish them, or it could be just all the programming, everything you've ever seen your whole entire life is in your head by your subconscious, because that's how the divine experiences this realm. So when you start your initiation process, and you need to banish and reject thoughts, well, that's not just for the new thoughts coming, that's for all the old thoughts coming. This is just a way of looking at it. I'm not saying this is real or fake. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But all those thoughts have been accumulating inside of you, and you need to get rid of them. And I think it's probably a little bit of both those things, right? And this perpetuates itself, because if you're continuously taking in, watching TV and getting these new ones, we got to keep canceling them so they don't keep acting it out. But basically, that's how the circle keeps going. And then you want to affect that circle. You want to get in there and make that circle go the way you want it to go, always staying kind of in a positive mood. Now, you have to be negative sometimes, or this is positivity and negativity I'm talking about, but this is more or less how that works. And this is why this banishing is important to finding your purpose, because your first steps on finding your purpose shouldn't be like, well, I want to be this, so I want to be this, basically. Find a way to figure out what you really want. And the point of this whole big rant was just basically to say that if you're still in your neophyte, the reason you probably don't do magic, you're not supposed to, is because they're going to be probably random and impulsive. And this is banishing, it's teaching control, not only banishing any curses and bad shit you've already brought to yourself and hoping it gets canceled out and doesn't come through, but you're trying to stop the negativity around you, by doing a banishing in every room. You know, Birch had a video saying the lesser banishing. I don't know why it's called the banishing, because for half the ritual you're invoking, and that's true. But for me, and I'm not saying he's wrong, the conclusion I came up to was it's called the banishing is because, well, for one, you do it in the same room, your temple or whatever the case is, in ceremonial magic anyways, and you do that because you're banishing anything bad in there. The demons, okay, and malevolent spirits, but even the biggest ones that are demons, okay, whenever they hear Archangel Raphael or Ariel or Michael or Gabriel, okay, depending on, because every one of those angels is of a quarter, and every one of those quarters has a bunch of fucking demons in there, and technically those demons stay in line because they're scared of those archangels. So basically, in my conception and the way I think of it is it's called the lesser banishing of the pentagram, because wherever you decide to do it, if there's any bad spirits, demons, whatever around, they're going to run off, because, you know, I do it twice, right? I do it at the beginning and I do it at the end of the ritual, and that's the reason, you know, you do it twice, because like a light, when you turn on a light, you know, it's going to disrupt the spirit, but it can reassemble within that light. So this could disrupt the spirit, but maybe it comes back in when you're no longer talking about them, or if you can't hold your visualization the whole time, so then you say the name again, oh, fuck this shit, and they peace out again. So to me, that's why they call it the lesser banishing. But you're doing this shit over and over again because, you know, you're trying to bring yourself back to a grounded state, to be depolarized. Now, I started this talk off saying that I was kind of in that state where Frater was talking about how depolarization could be a bad thing, but to me it had more to do with things I was fearing, the anxiety I had about going back to work, and coupled in with not having a purpose or passion. You know, I wanted something to happen, but I had nothing to do, and sometimes just doing something, even if something you don't like doing, is better than not doing anything at all. So, you know, and the choice to go to work and decide that I'm not going to be miserable, that I'm going to be happy, that if I can enjoy a crappy job and be thankful for that, then I might be entitled to getting better ones and better ones and better ones. But by, you know, leaving my last job and trying to do all this stuff, okay, great, and I got some things from Spirit, and they're very welcoming, but when it comes to work, maybe I haven't proved myself more enough to, you know, what if I get that job and I'm not prepared mentally for it, right? Maybe all the shitty jobs I had to do that I should have been doing for the last 3 years, hopefully not, but were to prepare me for when I finally get the job I want, because nothing's ever going to be perfect. You know, the grass isn't always greener. Even if you find something you like to do, you're either going to have to deal with people or circumstances. There's going to be something you don't like, right? And if I'm not prepared mentally, or haven't grown up enough, or, you know, matured enough, basically, that I can get my dream job and still fuck it up. So maybe that's why, I mean, this is another idea that ran through my head. So I'm going to go, and even if it's something I don't like, or feel dangerous or hard to do, or, you know, I have the potential of being miserable and not happy there, well, I can overlook that and find the good in it and go there despite all those things and have control of my mind, because ultimately your mind is just as powerful as magic. I love when Frederick Xavier says that, you know, he's like, people want me to just talk about the spells all day long, but mind is just as, if not more important than the magic. You know, you can do stuff with just your mind alone. Your mind is magic, basically. That's where the magic comes from. That's the filter. That's the link to the divine. That's all that. So, you know, I'm waiting for this great opportunity or something that, you know, I don't really have to worry anymore. It doesn't even feel like work and all that. But I'm having trouble figuring out what that is, and maybe that's because when I do get it, I'm not prepared. So anyways, these are just a few of the reasons why I decided to go back, because I don't want people thinking that, well, he's a fraud, this and that and the other thing. You know, I mean, maybe on some levels I am, because, you know, I talk about staying home, and now I have to go back. I truly believe in everything I said and everything I do, and I know without a doubt that, you know, if it was just me, I could literally do what I want by just not necessarily not worrying, but by controlling my focus. And that's part of this test, is being able to control my focus in environments where I'm not necessarily happy or not necessarily what I want to do. And if I can accomplish that with ease and stay positive and keep my mind where it wants and stay focused on the things I want and all that, even when I'm doing stuff I don't like, well, then it's going to be 100 times easier whenever I actually do find it, because you can develop, misery and stress, anxiety, depression anywhere you go, even if it's something you like. Me and my wife both thought that having cars and kids and a house was what you wanted. That's partly from TV, partly from society, right? And we have those things and we got to maintain them. But, eventually it's not, okay, I got a house, I got 2 cars. So now what do we do? You know what I mean? It's not an end all, just like depolarization. Once you get there, I'm there. I'm pretty depolarized. Obviously, I'm not completely, but I'm pretty much there because I just don't care. It doesn't matter, There's certain things that still piss me off, obviously. Some things I have a natural aversion to, or like a tick, or, it rubs me the wrong way, and people do that kind of thing. But for the most part, if we have money, if we don't have money, it is. If, the kids are good or bad, it is, depending on the circumstance and all that. Once again, there's exceptions to every rule. But so that's what this was all about, basically. It's don't underestimate the importance of the banishing, rejecting, and all that, because it's going to help from everything from the curses that people are shooting at you. Because if someone shoots something at you and, you get a thought of something and you accept it, then you're done. Your best defense could be just rejecting every fucking negative, bad thing that comes to your head. And to do that, you have to be aware of what's going on in your head. You have to have that open self-talk communication. You don't want your subconscious just putting shit in your life that you don't accept. You know what I mean? Part of the way to control your life is to put what you want in your head to happen. The other part is the things you can't control, like the thoughts. In my opinion, no one creates their own thoughts, okay? No one has control of those ideas that come into their head. They do if they can control their emotional state, because if you're in a good and happy emotional state, then you're not going to get anything you don't want. But if you can't control your emotional state, then you're not going to be able to control the thoughts you're exposed to. So this is why a lot of people pay more attention to emotional and being positive and all that. Because if you stay positive, even if you're putting off some dark shit, then you're not going to have more dark thoughts come into your head. But likewise, if there's dark stuff bubbling under the surface, it's a matter of time for it to erupt. So you do have to deal with that. That's the shadow work and shit I'm dealing with now. But basically, we don't come up with our own thoughts. They're a product of shit that's been around, just like our dreams. Our dreams are coming from us, but we're not creating them. How can that be? You heard that from Jordan Peterson, right? And this is how I think that can be. Everything we're subjugated to, from the past to right now, that our subconscious mind's taken in. Our dreams are formed from those things that we don't understand or pick up or comprehend. If you're hungry, you're going to go right to the kitchen, you're going to walk by everything and go right to whatever food you want, right? And there could be a fucking animal or, a person in your house, and now you won't even see them. So anyways, that was the point of the show today, was just to realize how important the banishing, the rejecting all is, because, your mind, it's one of the easiest things, one of the most practical and easily applicable things you can do, is you can start right now. Just start yourself training it. You can even do magic to train it for you. Whether you... What? Almost. You can do magic to almost... You can do... I know, I figured that. You can do a sigil or a candle, a spell to either help, how would you word that? Whether it's to identify or make sure that you put some kind of, make a servitor or just make a sigil to make sure that no thoughts, harmful thoughts to you that can hinder your manifestations get accepted. You know what I mean? Something that this way everything comes by you, or to identify how you accept those thoughts without even realizing it, or to be conscious. All I'm trying to say is maybe do magic to make sure that you're never accepting negative thoughts. And if you can actually banish and deny all the negative thoughts that come in your mind, then you're going to be great. And after that would be just finding out the bad habits that you formed over the years, and remove those and replace them with new ones as well. But if you're able to do those two things, then there's no way you can't have anything you want. And, by getting your mind focused and being able to realize, how many negative thoughts you have in a day, how often you have to banish this shit, or just show you how it works. But, and at first it's going to be overwhelming. But once you get that under control, You're going to have your mind organized, and everything likewise will get organized after that. And then you can start working on the passion and your purpose and all that, because you don't want to have your passion before you're ready for it, and then you get it and you're not mentally prepared for it. If you're just starting the initiation phase, well, you don't want all your life lessons while you're trying to do your passion or purpose. You enjoy your life, but enjoy your job, but then everything else sucks around you. Or your life is great, but you don't have a passion or purpose. That's kind of how I was, and that's how I knew there was an issue. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. And yeah, have a great fucking day. All right, and I'm back. So yeah, that's not something I really want to focus on. Speaking of focus, because it's very polarizing, right? So like, I have my views and I have what I learned, and my beliefs, my views, my opinion is all based on what I've intaked, what I've accepted, what as truth. As a child, you can't really accept truth. It just goes in you. That's what everybody talks about when they talk about programming. If you've been programmed as a kid, you saw your parents go through life having a hard time, job to job, just making ends meet, can use as many Christmas gifts as they can, but then spending the next 4 or 5 months in debt. And summer comes around, they get some holidays, but sometimes they get to do things, sometimes they don't, depending on if they got an income tax back that lifted them out of that shit that they spend all that money at Christmas time, or if you lived in hard times, foster child or whatever, parent to parent, you got the programming that your parents didn't love you, and that all the other parents were fucking people are evil and shit like that, and the world's a dark place. Or if you grew up in some rich family where you got everything you wanted, you probably have a better or a different outlook on life, but you might be more spoiled and not used to not getting what you want. So when you get out in the world, you're going to have a tough time. That's kind of my point, is just that, whatever information you get, it's all going to be based and filtered through your programming and stuff like that. And when it comes filtered through you, or gets filtered through you, is kind of what creates the programming, and it perpetuates those thoughts. And I'm going to get into that later on in the show, but I had to stop there. My levels were popping a lot when I recorded the first part, and it was a big spike. So I got this new software to try to level that out, and then I can amplify it for the times where I talk really low. Oh, it's pretty cool tool. Fuck is it called? Wave something. WavePad, I think. Yeah, WavePad. I think we're just using the trial version, but I think I'm going to accept it because, yeah, it's pretty fucking cool. But anyways, that's besides the point. So, being that I was just talking about some polarizing things, like I said, I'm not necessarily for or against Trump. I'm against anybody who's doing anything against humankind, But therein lies the problem, He's being nice to some of the humans on the planet, and he's being a dick to the rest of them, right? Like, he's got the people he's, and once again, this is all based on the news, like, I listen to Max Egan, and, that's where I got some of the Palestine info. I mean, I looked it up, and these things are on the news, how there's like an embargo line around Palestine, and, they're monitoring, and I believe they're, I don't know for 100% sure. And once again, this is the independent news, so just like, the Fox, I don't know about CNN, but different news stations, they've been compromised basically and told what to say. And I believe that, in some way, shape, or form, the independent media is it was kind of like the people that want to watch the news, and they became truth or enlightened or whatever you want to call it. So they stopped watching the news. Well, then there was a new news media created for them. It's the independent news. So now they're getting their still dose of the news, which isn't far off from the fake news in some stances. And I've already had a video about this, how, the real news and fake news is all just the stuff that elites and governmental types release to us, do something, whether they think about what they're doing before and have think tanks and see how the people respond to these different things they're going to cause and create. And, it's like that negative brainstorming, like I said in that other video. If you wake up every morning and you think of all the ways that things can go wrong in your day, and, you're going to go above and beyond crazy, irrational, or unrealistic things. But by doing that, you're prepared for almost everything. There's a very slim chance that you're not going to conceptualize and perceive and think up a situation that's, you know, because you have your routine, right? If it's a regular Monday to Friday where you have your routine where you're going to work and all that, well, you know all the issues are going to happen, you know. You're going to wake up, you're not going to have coffee, or you're not going to have some food for breakfast, or you're going to run late, or you won't be able to have a shower, some of your clothes are going to be dirty. Get in a car, well, maybe someone still robbed your car, someone siphoned your gas, whatever, and you're late for work, or you hit a train on the way there, there's an accident, and you got a confrontation with your boss and the other employees. And, you know, so you can kind of go through your day by day very specifically, like I just did. That's how I do mine. So I don't think you have to go that in depth. But, and then, you know, from there you can figure out how everything go wrong and how you resolve it. So when one of those things happen, you look like a pro. And, you know, also knowing that these things can happen, you're aware of what things can create those circumstances are happening. So when you see a trend start happening, like, oh fuck, this kind of looks like the thing I thought about this morning, well, you're going to nip it in the ass. You're not going to allow it to happen. But anyway, so and this is, once again, and I even stated it, this is just my opinion, and I have no factual evidence to prove this. So I don't like doing this because, you know, what the fuck, it's just an opinion. You can come up with a million opinions, but and from what I perceive from all the shit I've watched, and once again, that's just going on stuff that may or may not be true, but I believe that, you know, when it comes to like 9/11 or Trump impeachment and shit like this, I believe there's a certain amount of people, I don't know who they are, Trump might not even necessarily be part of that group who's deciding his fate. It might be a completely higher and different group that does that. Point is, they go in there and they said, okay, so what are we going to do? Trump's not going to get reelected in. We want somebody else besides Trump, so what's a good way to do this? And, well, let's make a big spectacle out of it, so maybe we get the American people behind us again, and we can unite them, because Trump has done a great job separating everybody, which is part of the plan to polarize people. You got the right and the left, and there's more talk about right and left than there has ever been in society, and the fact that we continuously are separate and we can never unite. And with all the social media happening right now and all the truth movements and all this, it would be the most optimal time for us to unite. And in history, whether you want to believe that history is 2,000 years old, 40 million years old, or just 200 years old, there's no evidence, and like a catastrophe could have wiped out all the old computers if there was such a thing, and all this other stuff, but there's no evidence that there was ever a communication system like we have, such as internet and phones and even television and all that. You know, we have stuff on walls about flying ships and electricity and all that, but the internet itself, there's no proof of that, right? And it could have been a long time ago, and it would have been wiped away just like a million years from now. Everything that we have right here in this physical life, especially with everything being made out of plastic, for God's sakes, everything will be gone. There'll be no proof that any of us were here besides the things that take a really long time to decompose. But anyways, there's a group out there already figuring out, okay, how's this impeachment going to go? How are the people going to react? We're going to have the for, we're going to have the against, we're going to have the middle, we're going to have the random stories, and they're going to try to brainstorm all the bad ways this can go. And from there, they're going to formulate which one of these ideas they want to give to the media, which one of these they want to start a scandal with, which one of these do we want to give to a whistleblower, which one of these do we want to give to the independent media, which one of these do we want to, you know what I mean? Everything is controlled, and that's where they control the variables. And to me, that's rational, because why would they let us think that they're trying to kill us with GMOs and spraying chemtrails in the sky? And once again, I'm not saying these things aren't true. I know it. Like I said, I have reverse osmosis in my kitchen, so I don't drink the fluoride. I gave up eating meat and a lot of other different processed foods and any kind of GMOs. And I grow my own shit when I can in the summertime. And so I know this shit happens, and I'm not saying that. Point is, they're allowing us to think this, and that tells me that there's something else going on. Like I put on a few videos not that long ago about recent, and from 1600 to 1800, I want to say. 1600, there was a cataclysm. 1800, there was a cataclysm. Well, there was many cataclysms, but you know, there's evidence of really big events every 200 some odd years. Now, it's not exactly right on the 200 mark. It's, you know, it would be closer to 2050 going by the numbers. So I'm not trying to scare anybody, because I don't think there's anything to worry about. And if Mother Nature says, okay, you guys have fucked me up for too long, you guys are all done, well, there's nothing you could do about it anyways, you know? And to be honest, I'm kind of excited to see what happens after this. But anyways, going by the trends and all that, you know, I checked my local, I live in this town or a city that we don't get earthquakes, we don't get tornadoes, but we do get little tremors. We don't even get, sorry, we don't really get, we get little tremors. We don't get tornadoes, we don't get hurricanes, we don't get earthquakes, we don't get none of that. But we've been getting a lot of tremors. You know, in the history, we've always had tremors, but now they're more frequent. And the thing I shown was there's a correlation between the stuff happening in space, meaning comets, asteroids, and things like that. It was marked, it was kept track of really well before 18 something. About around the 1900s, they stopped really being it completely. Now you can still go to different space websites and stuff and get the information about different comets and all that. And they make big deals about certain ones that only come around so many years. And what do you think that is? Because they don't want people to know that there's continuous shit happening in the skies, which is my whole premise for that one video talking about the chemtrails. Yes, there's probably bad things in there that do harm our bodies, but that's because those things are the best way to make big clouds that last longer forever. And as a extra added bonus, it also kills humanity and, you know, brings the population down. But the main focus is to cover the skies up, because I've seen many fireballs during the day fly through the sky. And I say that because I don't think you can see a shooting star unless it's at night. I mean, you can see the moon whenever the sun's still up, but you can't see stars when the sun's still up. So why would you see a shooting star, right? So what are the little flying balls of fire I'm seeing going by in the sky? Well, it's got to be something bigger than a star, correct? And I mean, even at night, I see shooting stars very often. In my town, we don't have much smog. We used to. We don't have much smog anymore. And at night, if there's no clouds in the sky, then yeah, if I stay out for an hour, 2 max, I will see 1 or 2 shooting stars, maybe even more, but I'm definitely going to see one. I mean, I might even do that experiment and just put videos on YouTube. I might have to cut them down, you know, but stay out there, just put a camera on, record every night, and show you guys that in the same spot of the sky every night you can see a shooting star. Now, it might have to be more broad than that, but we'll see, and I'll prove my point. But anyways, that was all just to say that I think there's think tanks controlling the situations that happen in the States, in every country basically. And the reason, you know, they have this media for the masses is to cover up, well, I mean, 2 main reasons are to cover up something real that's happening, and something real that's happening that they don't want us to focus on. So they rather us think they're killing us off and a bunch of other stuff. See, Daddy's busy. Go play. Go watch TV. Go. Okay, I'll be there 1 second, baby. Sorry about that. They want us to keep busy thinking they're killing us and being separated and all this crap. Because, yeah, if we found out the truth, well then, you know, it would probably cause us to actually unite. If we actually found out the real whatever, well, if you can really use the word real, but whatever they're trying to hide, whatever is bigger than them killing us off, whatever is bigger than them trying to do martial law and putting all these poisons in our water and our food and all this bad shit they've done. If there's something bigger than that, now you can only imagine the implications that would happen, because not only when we find out that there's something really, really, something we never even thought of that they're doing that is so bad, but it would also make us think all the other things are true, which, like I said, to a certain extent they are. If the stuff they're spraying to make those clouds last longer so we don't see things in the sky during the day, well, if those things actually have killing poisons in them and we are ingesting them, then yeah, they technically are doing that. But they rather allow us to believe that because it's, you know, it's liable. They can lie themselves out of it. And like I said, I've seen all the patents surrounding chemtrails, and like Bayer Aspirin, among many other companies, has different patents to come up with different cures. Well, not cures, because it's not actually to get rid of any of the damage that these chemtrails can do, but it was ways to cope with whatever poisoning you got from the chemtrail, you know. But anyways, so they are doing these bad things to us, but if they were to release the biggest bad thing, it might actually unite us, and they'd have to be held for all the crimes that we already think they're doing, plus crimes that we don't even know they're doing. That'd be so appalling. So they rather us believe the little ones, so they never have to tell us the big ones. And I already said the other one, it helps keep us separate. We'll never unite. We'll never say, you know, we're one people, and we're tired of being treated like fucking slaves, and this and that and the other thing. Now, I think that's going to do for that topic, to be honest, because it's very polarizing. But that was all just to say that, I think this is all theater for the masses anyways. The only way to get a woman president probably in there. Now, I'm not saying that we don't deserve a woman president or that a woman president wouldn't be good. I absolutely advocate. I got 2 little girls. I'd love to see one of them president if there can actually be an acting president that isn't a fucking puppet for whatever. And I say that, and I don't know or mean that I think there's Illuminati types behind the scenes telling Trump what to do. I believe that there's a bigger agenda that whatever these politicians tell us, so we vote them in, doesn't mean shit, and we all know that. And they don't have any real power. They're just a piece of toast, a fucking Mr. Potato Head in there. And all you do is change the fucking face on the potato head every time there's a new election. But it's the same fucking potato. It's the same empty shell of a person that is there. You can't do any real change. You won't do any real change because understand that these politicians don't want their way of life to change. They don't want to see the things the masses see. Everybody thinks that, I don't know, but I don't mean everybody thinks. Okay, that was a wrong choice of words, but and like I said, it's polarizing, so I shouldn't even be talking about this because I have a bunch of shit I want to talk about that has nothing to do with this. It has to do with magic and your mind and your purpose. But the fact that we want change, some people want the monetary system to be gone. Some people want everybody to get paid equally and not have to pay taxes. Some people want, stop renting places and everybody gets to own their own piece of land. Some people want the right to not have to vaccinate their kids and be able to teach them and stay at home and not work and still be okay, not have to feel like they're forced to work and not enjoy their children because they have to work every day. That was part of my big fucking thing. And, I hit that in the head and I just went back to work recently. Everybody knows that. And I'm going to talk about that. That's the next thing on the list after this. But everybody thinks that we're going to vote some politician in there, and that politician, the things they say is going to somehow help us. But these politicians don't want it to change. They want to keep their system there. They want that to stay there. So I don't understand how